And good morning and welcome to the Subway pregame show. I'm Dustin Lukey. Over the next half hour, we'll get you all set for college football, the annual rivalry matchup between the UW-Eau Claire Blugolds and the UW-La Crosse Eagles. First and foremost, let's take a look at where these teams stand. UW-Eau was picked to finish 6th during the preseason, and that pick's proving accurate. The Eagles dropped their first 3 games, including a WIAC loss at Platteville, but bounced back with 2 consecutive wins. They sit at 2-3 overall, 1-1 in the WIAC. Eau Claire looking better than their preseason prediction of 7th. The Blugolds are also 1-1 in conference play. They beat Stout but lost to Oshkosh last Saturday. However, they're 3rd in the WIAC thanks to a 3-2 overall record. Now, last year, the Eagles broke a 3-year streak of Blugold wins in a big way. UW-Eau won 49-14 at home thanks to an explosive offensive attack led by senior quarterback Nick Anker and junior running back Lee Louders. The Eagles still lead the series overall 51-24 with a pair of ties between them. But over the last 10 years, it's been EC dominance. The Blugolds have won 7 to the Eagles 3 since 2001. La Crosse might have more of an advantage this year, however, with home field advantage for the 2nd straight year. Now, a couple of guys also familiar with Veterans Memorial Athletic Complex, our own Scott Emmerich and Bob Bradovich. They're live at the field right now, and guys, just a great day for football.
Dustin, both these teams come in very highly motivated, but for different reasons. Eau Claire coming in with a 3-2 record, Bob, and how did they get there?
Well, that 3-2 record, Scott, you talk to the Eau Claire guys, and they think they ought to be 5-0. A couple difficult losses, including last week against UW-Oshkosh, a game in which the Blugolds were up a couple touchdowns early. They could not hang on. The Blugolds are a veteran team. They've got all 11 starters back on offense. They've got 8 starters back on defense. And, Scott, they certainly remember last year down here in La Crosse, they were on the short end of a 49-14 score. Head coach Todd Glazier said, "We were embarrassed last year, and they're looking to bounce back today." And speaking of bouncing back, Scott, after that first loss against Bethel of Tennessee, Eau Claire came back and put together a dominating performance, 47-19, winning at Perennial Power St. John's. The Johnnies were ranked 25th at the time. They're looking for a similar kind of bounce back today, but they're going up against an Eagles team that's starting to hit its stride.
They are hitting their stride, Bob. The Eagles come in with a 2-game winning streak, and they are motivated for different reasons. Now, nobody's had a tougher non-conference schedule than the Eagles. They opened up against top-ranked Whitewater, then went on the road to take on Mary Hardin-Baylor in Texas. They were ranked 5th in the nation and came within a 1 score of them. It was a very winnable game for them. Lost at Platteville, which we know now is a pretty good team right now. They've won 2 in a row, and they want to send a message that they are a program back on the rise with new head coach Joel Detweiler. We'll talk about some of the key players in this game coming up a little bit later on in our pregame show. Right now, the homecoming crowd is filing in. It's a beautiful sunny day down here at Herring Stadium, a little bit breezy. We'll talk a little bit about that later on as well. Right now, we'll send it back to you, Dustin.
All right, thanks, gentlemen. We'll check back with them in a little bit. But there's still plenty more on the way from the Subway pregame show, including in-depth looks at each team's season, a breakdown of impact players from both Eau Claire and La Crosse, plus the teams sound off on what this rivalry means to them. All that and more still to come on the Subway pregame show. We've got to take a break right now, but we'll be right back after this. Welcome back. Well, it's been an up and down year for the WL Eagles. They dropped their first 3 games under new head coach Joel Detweiler, but have since bounced back with 2 straight W's. Here's a look at how they got there. With a new teacher in the classroom, there's understandably a bit of a learning curve. That's exactly what UWL experienced implementing Coach Detweiler's playbook. And it didn't help having the big kid on the block, top-ranked Whitewater, come to town for Game 1. The Warhawks pounded UWL 26-7, with the Eagles' lone score coming off a Mike Butterfield's 7-yard scamper late in the 4th. Week 2 saw signs of improvement, but still a 27-20 loss to Mary Hardin-Baylor on the road in Texas. The Eagles would continue to climb closer to a win at Platteville following a bye week. Derek Dreyer got a little extra credit when he stripped Lee Vlasic and took the ball 51 yards the other direction to tie the game at 7. But Vlasic recovered and later in the second rumbled in from 5 yards out to take the lead for good, allowing Platteville to secure a 17-14 victory. UWL's first passing grade came the following week against Stevens Point. The Eagles struck quickly on an improbable touchdown that saw Butterfield scrambling around before finding Ben Hertram for a 20-yard score. The Pointers, however, wouldn't make it easy, answering right back with a 9-yard touchdown connection from Casey Barnes to Mike Mullins, then an 8-yard run from Corey Flisikowski. The Eagles were down, but not out. Set up for a field goal in the fourth, Kevin Shams instead picked up the ball and threw it to Nate Ward 25 yards away in the end zone to bring the Eagles back within a score. Late in the game, Butterfield hooked up with Tony Bilderback not once, but twice to both tie the game and set up a Justin Hinkert game-winning field goal as time ran out, giving UW-Eau a 31-28 victory. Having a taste of winning left the Eagles hungry for more. And against Jamestown College, they feasted. Butterfield and Bilderback picked up right where they left off, combining for 27 yards and a 7-0 Eagles lead on the fade. From there, UW-Eau continued to prove their understanding of all aspects of the material, including special teams and defense. Alex Barr's 47-yard fumble return highlighted a 42-6 rout. The only question remaining is whether the Eagles can continue their winning ways and rise to the head of the class. Now, UW-Eau Claire was picked to finish 7th in the WIAC, but the Blugolds themselves had much higher expectations. With all 11 starters returning on offense and 8 starters back on defense, Bob Bradovich recaps the 2011 season, which started with a non-conference loss at Bethel College of Tennessee.
Stung because we felt like we were the better team, but we didn't come out on top, so we just had to, come back into work on Monday and get after it again, I guess.
Getting after it was exactly what the Blugolds did in their second game on the road at perennial power St. John's. At the time, the Johnnies were ranked 25th in Division III, but Eau Claire controlled all phases of the game. Quarterback Austin Nye threw for 3 scores and rushed for 1 more. UW-EC led 31-0 at the half and coasted to the impressive win by a final of 47-19. The Blugolds racking up 469 yards of total offense.
The offense was moving the ball, the line was getting a good push, and the defense was getting big stops when we needed them to. And it was pretty much a good team effort.
After a bye week, the Blugolds finally got to play a home game. Eau Claire hosting WIAC rival River Falls in a non-conference matchup. The Falcons had won 3 of the last 4 against the Blugolds, but on this day, it was all UW-EC behind a dominating rushing attack. All 5 Eau Claire touchdowns coming on the ground. Sophomore running back Joel Sweeney found the end zone 3 times as the Blugolds beat the Falcons 38-17.
That game was just as important, as our conference game that's coming up at the end of the year. We went in there with the same mentality. They're always a tough team to play, and we really wanted to come out on top on that one.
Eau Claire took the short road trip to UW-Stout in the conference opener, the 2 rivals meeting for the 89th time. This one was close early on, but the Blugolds defense picked off 2 Blue Devils passes, while the Eau Claire offense continued to put up big numbers. Austin Nye threw for a career-high 349 yards and a pair of touchdowns, one on a third-quarter screen pass to Sweeney that gave the Blugolds the lead for good. The other coming on a 29-yard toss to David Goodman in the fourth that sealed it.
Defensively wise, they came up with some big stops when we needed them to. And offensively, we got points on the board, same when we needed to. And, got to spoil the homecoming there, and it was a good win against a good rival team.
The Blugolds were back at Carson Park last week for a homecoming game against UW-Oshkosh, and the Golds gave the crowd of 5,200 plenty to cheer about early on. Joel Sweeney with a pair of short TD runs, which put Eau Claire up 13-0 after 1. But the Titans were able to swing momentum back their way with 2 TDs in the fourth quarter to give Oshkosh a 23-16 lead. The Blugolds made a dramatic drive downfield late in the fourth, all the way down to the Titans' 5-yard line. But Eau Claire couldn't get the ball in the end zone for the tying score.
Once again, just like against Bethel, we thought we were the better team. But we didn't, end of the game, it didn't show that. But it was a tough one to get over, but you got to go to practice again on Monday and kind of flush it. You take what you can learn from it and then move on from there.
All right, thanks, Bob. Well, we've got to take another timeout, but after the break, we'll head back down to Herring Stadium for a look at who to keep an eye on after kickoff. We'll be right back after this. Well, we're back with the Subway pregame show, getting you all set for Saturday morning college football between UW-Eau Claire and UW-La Crosse. And with more insight behind these two squads, we're joined once again by Scott and Bob down at the field. Guys?
Dustin, a lot of big playmakers for both teams and on both sides of the ball. Let's talk about Eau Claire first, Bob. Austin Nye, the quarterback, had a real tough time of it when they came down here last year against La Crosse. This year, though, he's a different quarterback.
No question about it, Scott. He's now a junior in his second year as a starter, and he is playing awfully well. A very efficient quarterback. He's thrown for more than 1,200 yards. That leads the WIAC. He's completing 65% of his passes. He's thrown 8 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions. He's also a threat to run the ball. Not a typical running quarterback, but if the play breaks down, he can certainly tuck it and run it. 97 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. And speaking of rushing, Scott, Blugolds like to hand the ball off to number 24, Joel Sweeney, the sophomore out of Tomah. Already has 87 carries, 348 yards, averaging 4 yards per carry. He's a big back, but he's got the nimble feet, and he can certainly keep plays going. A couple other guys you want to watch on offense. David Goodman, number 4, the senior wide receiver. Defensively, Jimmy Hall on the defensive line is a guy that can raise a lot of havoc. Sean Graham and Andy Newman, some real instinctive linebackers. They're among the tackle leaders for UW-Eau Claire.
On the other side, for La Crosse, we'll talk about the quarterback as well. Mike Butterfield, was kind of in a job share situation at quarterback to start the season with Andy Sires. But as we take a look at some of the video here, he has really come on here the last couple weeks. 6 touchdown passes. He can also run. He has 3 touchdowns running, and his consistency over the last couple weeks has been a key for UWL's success on offense. On the other side of the ball, keep an eye on number 22, Jack Leahy. This guy is all over the field for the Eagles on defense. He is second in the conference in tackles and has really led the charge for an improving defense for the Eagles. Another guy we'll keep an eye on, Bob. He wears number 30, Derek Dreyer. He plays cornerback for the Eagles, and that'll be a terrific matchup. Dreyer and Goodman, depending on how often they match up against each other. Dreyer is a guy who's being looked at by NFL scouts at cornerback for the Eagles. Some good matchups down here on the field. Can't wait to get this one going. And right now, we're going to send it up to break. Send it back to Dustin a little bit later on for more preview and more pregame show. Dustin, back to you in a moment, but right now, that's it from Roger Herring Stadium.
Recall, if you will, once more back to November 6th of last year, when the Eagles routed the Blugolds by 35 points. Now, this can already be counted as one of the WIAC's bigger rivalry games, but that sort of point differential certainly adds to the bad blood for players on both teams.
After last year, I mean, that was a big win for us to get back on track, and I'm sure that this year we're looking for the same kind of performance out of our team.
It would definitely send a message out there that we're getting into our own, we're growing into our skin kind of. Like the first 2 or 3 games, we were kind of still getting the new techniques and kind of learning everything, and now it's really starting to click. And if this next game it keeps clicking and going the way we want it to, I think it'll really prove to ourselves too the kind of team that we can be.
You never know what we're going to get. Last year we obviously came out and had a big game, but years in the past I've been a part of them. It's always a battle, and I think that's what's so fun about playing Eau Claire.
It fuels our fire a little bit. We definitely want to go down there and show them that last year was a kind of a fluke, and we want to just go out there and just make plays and put up some points on the board.
Last year was a bad loss for us, but it's a whole new year for us, and like I said, coming in we got a whole different confidence, and we're going to bring that to this game.
That game, defense played pretty poorly, and it's time for us to go back down there and show them how we can play now.
Because we know we're a lot better team than our score showed last year, and yeah, we'd like to go down there and get a win.
Well, just a few minutes left before kickoff, but first, after the break, we'll hear the game plans from those who know it best. Don't go anywhere. Well, first-year UW-Eau head coach Joel Detweiler was hired last February to replace Larry Terry. He came to La Crosse from Wartburg College in Iowa, where he had been an assistant. The Eagles are off to a 2-3 start under Detweiler. And Scott Emmerich had a chance to visit with him, and he talked about how he's embraced the tradition at UW-La Crosse in a very unique way.
So you bought Roger Herring's house. Do you hear him speaking to you through the walls at night when you're sleeping?
He's been over after the last 2 wins to have a beer with us, so that's great. No, I guess I think that I pinch myself walking in the door. I wanted to have the insight, and I've having been around a program previously at the school I was at before, enjoyed that part of it, and I wanted to know what made things click here. What were the things that, who were the people that helped get us to that point, and what little things can I find there that will help us get back?
And after you had a chance to assess the program at where it was right now, what was the number one thing you felt like you had to change when you took the job?
I think overall, like our attitude. I think our demeanor of our self-confidence and understanding of that we can be good football players. I guess that's one thing maybe if I pride myself in is just having the hopefully the raw determination just to continue to push and push until it happens the right way. That Stevens Point win was something that was big for the program, obviously big for me, it was exciting, but it was I guess I'd like to say it helped us click in that, hey, we can win football games.
Can UWL reclaim its spot as one of the Division III elite?
I think so, yeah. I think that's why I came, to be at a place like this where it's happened before, and I look at the advantages we bring, that La Crosse brings as the area for recruiting and the school and the alumni backing that we have. I've had more alums talk to me than I can even count, that are very proud and very willing to support us, and I think that there's too many things moving in the right direction for us not to get back to that point. It's just a matter of steering the ship the right way and getting our kids to buy in, and I think that we're heading that direction.
Now, Eau Claire's Todd Glazier is in his 6th season as the Blugolds head coach. He's 3-2 against the Eagles. 3-2 is also Eau Claire's overall record after UW-EC suffered a very tough loss at home last week against Oshkosh.
I think we've come out with enthusiasm during practice, and we have a 48-hour rule where we enjoy the wins and we have to get rid of the losses. So, and I think the kids have done that. They've come and they've learned from film, and we're trying to get some of the mistakes we were making on Saturday done with practice.
Anything that you guys did as a coaching staff to get guys to move on from that one, or even for you guys as coaches to kind of move past that?
Yeah, as coaches, it's tough too, just like the players. And I think you have to watch the tape and be honest with yourself and have accountability, each and every one of us on our team. And that's what we tried to do this week. So then Monday when we were out there ready to practice, that we were going to fix the things we needed to fix.
Talk about this week against La Crosse. They took it to you pretty good down at their place last year. New coach down there and some new changes. What are you seeing on tape from the Eagles?
Well, they're big up front. They're like the Eagles. They're big up front. They're very athletic. They're playing sound football. They play 4 quarters of football, and they got a good football team. And they've got 1 and 2 in a row here, and they're starting to click a little bit with what they're doing offensively, defensively, and special teams. And we're excited to go play it because I think it's going to be a great game.
Last year's game down there didn't work out too well for you guys. Let's just leave it at that. But is there anything, players say that they're motivated by that. Is that motivational for coaches?
Yeah, it was embarrassing last year, and we got it handed to us. And I think, that was last year. But that's always sticking in the back of your mind. I think it just proves the point that when you go on the road, you better bring your A game or you're going to get beat like that.
Now we're only moments away from kickoff down at Herring Stadium, and we'll get you down there in a moment. But first, let's take one last look at the standings, one last tail of the tape, if you will. These teams fairly evenly matched on paper. Eau Claire's the slight advantage. They sit 3-2 overall, but both teams are 1-1 in the WIAC. UW-La Crosse, of course, has that 2-3 overall record following a couple of tough losses early on. Well, that's all for the Subway pregame show. Thanks for watching. We'll be back here with you in studio at halftime, but for now, enjoy the first half of the game. Eagles and Blugolds live from Roger Herring Stadium. That's after the break.
The Blugolds and Eagles have a history of fantastic finishes.
Now he's going to run, throwing, has a man, touchdown! And the La Crosse Eagles have won a thriller in 3 overtimes, 49-46. An unbelievable game here at Carson Park. 46 yards out. The kick is up. It is good! Greg Cole from 46 yards out makes it 41-29.
UW-La Crosse, the autumn winds of change are blowing. Joel Detweiler is now in charge, leading the Eagles into action as a first-year head coach. After a rocky start, the Eagles have found their groove and are anxious to show they are a program back on the rise. The Blugolds began the season fast, going 3-1 before suffering a heartbreaking defeat last week. Sixth-year head coach Todd Glazier has an offense that's averaging nearly 30 points a game. The Blugolds hope to put that on display and show they belong among the conference's elites. The Blugolds and Eagles are coming your way next. And we are live from Roger Herring Stadium at the Veterans Memorial Sports Complex here in La Crosse, with Grandad's Bluff serving as the backdrop for today's matchup between UW-La Crosse and UW-Eau Claire. This is the 79th meeting between these two teams. The Eagles lead the all-time series, 51 wins to 24 for Eau Claire. There have been 2 ties, but the Blugolds have dominated this series in recent years, having won 6 of the last 8 meetings. So glad you could join us this morning. I'm Scott Emmerich from WXOW 19 in La Crosse, joined by Bob Bradovich from WQOW 18 in Eau Claire. And Bob, as we've experienced in our many years from doing this game over the years, we always expect to see some real tight, high, tense football, don't we?
We've had a lot of shootouts in this series, Scott. Last year down here, though, was the exception when La Crosse won 49-14. And talking with UW-Eau Claire head coach Todd Glazier this week, he's a very succinct guy, as you know, but Todd said, we got to hang on to the football. Turnovers killed the Blugolds last year down in La Crosse. 3 lost fumbles and an interception. A number of those coming in the first half when La Crosse scored on 4 of their first 5 possessions. So Eau Claire's going to want to sustain some things early on, as we talked in the open. Coming off a real disappointing loss to UW-Oshkosh, how they respond will be very key. We touched on it in the open. Lost their opener down at Bethel, but came back with a real dominating performance on the road against St. John's. We'll see what the Blugolds do today against an Eagles team. Again, they're hitting their stride under first-year head coach Joel Detweiler.
Coming off their best performance of the year last week, I beg your pardon, when they beat Jamestown College, beat them pretty good here at home, and they would love another repeat performance, although I think the level of competition will be stepped up here tonight. Well, the Eagles and Blugolds getting ready to go. Eau Claire won the toss. They have deferred to the second half, so the Eagles will start with the ball on offense. And there's a matchup, Bob, that I want to talk about that we need to keep an eye on. That Eau Claire defense leading the WIAC in sacks, and the the La Crosse offense, they give up the most sacks in the league so far.
We mentioned Jimmy Hall in the open, number 92, the defensive end for Eau Claire. He's a guy that just causes all sorts of havoc. Eau Claire will blitz frequently, so keep an eye on the linebackers, Sean Graham, Andy Newman, as well as Callan Stittelberg. Stittelberg had a couple big sacks last week against Oshkosh. So we'll see what that UW-L offensive line is able to do. Maybe a little undersized compared to some UW lines of the past, but still a very good unit.
Weather today, mostly sunny, 55 degrees here at kickoff. Winds could play a factor. They're coming out of the northwest at about 13 to 20 miles per hour as you're watching on your television set from the lower left-hand corner to the upper right-hand corner. A pretty strong breeze. We'll see how it affects the kicking game here today. So the Blugolds getting set to kick off our 79th meeting between the Blugolds and the Eagles, live from Roger Herring Stadium. So glad you could join us on WXOW 19 in La Crosse and WQOW 18 in Eau Claire. Jake Welch and Kevin Lynn back deep to receive, and we are just about underway here from Roger Herring Stadium. Opening kickoff, and this one's going to drift out of bounds. Not what you want to see in an opening kickoff, Bob. But let's set up that OUWL offense first. They are led by quarterback Mike Butterfield. 6 touchdown passes to 3 interceptions. He can also run with the ball. The running back is Ben Hertramp. The fullback, Rance Knopfsinger. The wide receivers, it's a deep group. We'll see a lot of them. Nate Ward at one wide receiver. The team captain, Jake Welch. The speedster on the outside. Where's number 14? The tight end is Brock McMullen. Up front, the offensive line. It is a young group. Andrew Herman, the center, the only returning starter from last year. Ross Schultz at left tackle is a transfer from Mankato State. The others, Jacob Clevin at right tackle, Ben Pagel at right guard, and Justin Peterson at left guard. We'll set the Eau Claire defense for you right after this opening play. Off the penalty, off the kick out of bounds. 1st and 10 Eagles from their own 40-yard line.
First down to 40.
Butterfield on the play action. To the corner, he's got Welch. Welch up to the 50, 1st down yardage on the opening play, a gain of 10. Let's set that Eau Claire defense for you right now. As Bob mentioned, a very talented front seven. Pat Hendricks is in the middle. Nate Johnson and Jimmy Hall on the outsides at the end. The linebackers, Jake Safstrom. Sean Graham leads the WIAC in tackles. Andy Newman and Kalen Stittelberg, the other linebackers. The defensive backs, Tyler Janis and Chris Olson on the corners. Chad Samuelson and Kyle Thorpe are the safeties. On 1st and 10, Hertramp up the middle, right through the Blugolds defense. Another 1st down, a gain of 16.
Hertramp that time ran right through an arm tackle of the linebacker, number 97, Jake Safstrom. Got into that 2nd level, another 1st down, Eagles.
Well, fast start to the La Crosse offense so far. 2 plays, 2 1st downs. 3 wide receivers in now for the Eagles. That is Tony Bilderback at the top of your screen. Here's a little toss out to Trevor Hudson, the tight end, inside the 20, down to the 17. Another big gainer on 1st down for the Eagles.
Sean Graham on the coverage, and the tight end just got a step on him. And so far, a couple passes, Butterfield's been right on the money.
Well, the Eagles don't go to their tight end a lot, but here's Trevor Hudson with his 3rd catch of the year. Eagles go no huddle. As you look at Hudson's reception and gain for the 1st down. Now Butterfield gets the signal from the sideline. 1st and 10 from the Eau Claire 17. Hertramp up the middle. Brought down after a gain of 4 that time. Sean Graham with the tackle.
We expect to see a lot of Hertramp and Kevin Lynn. We're wondering how much we'll see Lee Lauders. He was the guy expected to carry the load for the Eagles this year. He's been dealing with the hamstring injury. Suited up, should see some action, but so far Hertramp has done well with his carries.
They're very deep at running back and at wide receiver as well. Here's the fake, Butterfield rolling. Pressure coming, tossed to the end zone over the head of the intended receiver, Jake Welch. And some excellent pressure that time applied by Eau Claire.
Matt Hawley was putting the heat on Butterfield, and the tight end that time well covered by Kyle Thorpe, junior out of Stanley Boyd High School. Kyle Thorpe, the 2nd leading tackler on that Blugolds defense, 37 tackles coming into this game.
3rd down now for the Eagles from the Eau Claire 13. Shotgun formation for Butterfield. They try the slip screen to Welch, and that one just overthrown, covered very nicely by number 98. That is Eric Neiman on the coverage that time. He sniffed that one out right from the start.
Yeah, that play just did not develop the way the Eagles wanted to. Well defended by the Blugolds. So, kicking situation here for the Eagles. You'd have to give a shout out to the Eau Claire defense for stiffening up once La Crosse got into the red zone.
Justin Hinker on to attempt the field goal. This will be a 30-yarder. He is kicking into the wind. Hinker 3 of 6 so far this season. Trying to put the first points on the board for the Eagles. Kevin Shams the holder. And that one is no good, missing just wide to the right. So a promising drive for the Eagles comes up empty, and the Eau Claire defense holds. 13 minutes exactly left here in the 1st quarter, and the Blugolds will take over on offense. I'll tell you what, let's set the Eau Claire offense for you right away. At quarterback is Austin Nye, the number 1 passer in the WIAC so far this season. 8 touchdown passes to just 2 interceptions. The running back is Joel Sweeney. The H-back is Austin Getch. The receivers, Mike O'Connell and David Goodman. He's a good one on the outside. Ryan Mortel, the tight end. A veteran offensive line. Paul Santi in the middle. Jake Holterman and Abe Ward are the guards. Matt Withrow and Nick Brosu are the tackles. On 1st and 10, Nye Sweeney, the big halfback, hit immediately and brought down after a short gain. And that was Brandon Heeg. Here's the UW-Eau defense up front. It's Brandon Heeg who just made the tackle, just a freshman. Brett Galligan, Nicholas Matthews, a terrific defensive tackle, and Ryan Immel at the end. And the linebackers, Alec Carr, Jack Leahy in the middle, John Rosick, also a linebacker. The defensive backs, a good group on the corners, Derek Dreyer and Alex Barr. The safeties, Matt Buswell and Jake Mextraw. 2nd and 9 for the Blugolds from their own 21-yard line. They spread out 4 receivers. Nye wide open across the middle and first down yardage. That is Alex Plaster with the catch.
Plaster, just a sophomore. He's out of Stevens Point High School, and he has started to come into his own. He's getting a lot more playing time. One of the things that's happening this year, Scott, with David Goodman getting so much focus, there's opposing teams are rolling out of safety help in his direction. So other guys like Jesse Linsmeyer, Mike O'Connell, and Plaster starting to catch more balls right now for the Blugolds.
1st and 10 from their own 33. Again, 4 receivers spread. Nice, sounds like he's going to audible. Right up the middle, Sweeney, and tackled right away. Ryan Immel comes crashing in from his end position. Got a little help from Brett Galligan.
Well, the Blugolds run out of that pistol formation, Scott. It really puts a lot of pressure on the offensive line because those guys really need to sustain their blocks and create a seam because it's a little bit of a slow developing play. That time the Eagles did a nice job filling.
Sweeney checking out. And Matt Olson checking in now at running back for the Blugolds on 2nd and 9.
Olson's been out of the lineup last couple games with an injury.
Little option here. Nye's going to keep it and falls forward for about 3.
And with Olson in there, it really gives you an opportunity to rotate your tailbacks. They didn't have that last week in some really warm weather conditions up in Eau Claire, and it sure seemed like Joel Sweeney got a little gassed as that game went on. It didn't have his usual zip. It was not running as fast as he normally did. So we'll see how much Olson is able to spell Sweeney today.
4 receivers spread again, 3 to the bottom of your screen on 3rd and 8 for Austin Nye and the Blugolds. Nye across the middle, open and caught for a first down. David Goodman, the team's leading receiver, and again, a first down for the Blugolds.
UW-Eau in a zone, and Goodman just settled down underneath there. He was open, and Nye found him.
You talked about Nye making something happen with his feet. Here he does here, something a little simple here, just kind of ducked his way out of the pocket.
Now, he is a mobile quarterback. Again, he's not your prototypical running quarterback, not like a Nate Wera of UW-Oshkosh, but Nye, when he has to, can tuck it and run it.
They toss inside, and that is caught for a short gain of 4 yards. Nick Hirsch with the reception. 2nd and 7 now for Eau Claire.
We're going to say both quarterbacks certainly seem in rhythm early on, Scott.
Going to a variety of receivers, too. Well, the Eau Claire offense coming in, number 1 pass offense in the conference. Nye completing 66% of his passes coming into this one. He's already off to a terrific start.
Now,
and now a timeout on Eau Claire.
The thing to watch, Scott, well, we'll go to a break right now. We'll pick up that thought when we come back.
Eagles and Blugolds, you're watching them right here. We'll be right back. Back at Herring Stadium, the Blugolds in the midst of their first drive of the ballgame, facing a 2nd and 6 from the Eagle 46. Nye still looking, tosses back the other way. He's got his receiver. Mike O'Connell dragged down to the 34-yard line, and another first down and a red-hot start for Austin Nye, Bob.
Yeah, he's 4 for 4. Last week against Oshkosh started out really well. It was 10 of 12 early and then kind of cooled off as the game went on. But again, another situation, Scott, where Austin Nye just kind of moving the pocket a little bit, buying some time for himself, allowing a receiver to get open. Michael Connell, the junior out of Eau Claire Regis, had a good game last week, is starting to become more involved in the offense as other teams key on David Goodman.
So both teams with promising drives to open this game. The Eagles' opening drive ended with a missed field goal. So here's Eau Claire, 1st and 10 from the La Crosse 34. Now a little quick hitch, bobbled but caught by O'Connell, who falls forward to about the 30. Now they'll give him progress to about the 32 as they move it back a little bit after the bobble. So O'Connell, the hot receiver, coming in. That's 19 catches on the season now for him.
Kind of a pick your poison situation for the Eagles defense. David Goodman, such a good receiver and a guy who can really play the ball in the air, so you got to respect him as a deep threat, but they've got some good underneath receivers as well.
Sweeney gets the handoff this time, through a hole, falls forward for about 4. Jack Leahy with the tackle.
Joel Sweeney goes 6'1", 249. And the key for him, though, is watch his feet. When the feet are moving, he's a very effective back.
A key 3rd down situation here. 3rd and about 5 for the Blugolds. The Blugolds, the number 1 3rd down conversion team in the conference. They do this very well. We've yet to see the Eagles dial up a blitz. We'll see what they do here. Now we have a flag on the play. And while we do sort out this penalty, let's send it down to the sideline where Lindsay Hayes is standing by. Lindsay?
Hello, Scott. It's a great job out there by both teams right now. Really key first drives from both teams. But interesting play here, 3rd down for the Blugolds. They averaged 48% on 3rd down conversions. And also interesting for them, 51-7. They outscore their opponents in the first quarter.
Thank you, Lindsay. That spoke to your comment earlier, Bob, about fast starts, but a penalty there, moving them back. 3rd and 10 now from the 34. Pressure coming, throw to the side, caught by O'Connell. He's going to be dragged down right near the marker, and they may have given him forward progress enough for the 1st down.
Yeah, very favorable spot that time. And they move the sticks, and it's a 1st down Blugolds.
I think what benefited O'Connell that time is the defender, when he brought him down, let's see if we can see it on the replay, but O'Connell fell right on top of the defender as he was going down, so technically he wasn't down yet.
Yeah, and you watch on the replay, too. He got wrapped up there and then kind of spun down, and as he spun, you're exactly right, extended the ball, got the 1st down.
John Rosick with the tackle there, just enough for the 1st down, so another 3rd down conversion for Eau Claire. On 1st down here, Nye across the middle, caught by Hirsch. And he falls forward down to the 18-yard line.
Another tackle by Rosick, but go back to that previous play, Scott. If you've got a wide receiver who's as fast as Michael Connell against a linebacker, I think if you're Eau Claire, you'll take that matchup.
Gain of 6, 2nd down. Nye is already 6 for 6 on this drive, at 54 yards passing. Here's Olson trying the middle, breaking a couple of tackles, and a 1st down to the 13-yard line. Matt Olson.
You can tell Matt Olson pretty happy to be back playing football. He was in uniform last week against Oshkosh, sat there on the sideline. You could just tell he was itching to get back in. He's out of Stratford High School, outstanding high school football program, and that's what he does. He can get those yards after that first contact.
He broke a couple of tackles that time before Alex Barr brought him down to the 13-yard line. So 1st down now for Eau Claire. They fake the handoff. Nye to the end zone. Open. Touchdown, Eau Claire. It is O'Connell. Mike O'Connell with his first touchdown catch of the season, and he just barely got that back foot down. Here's another look.
Just tap that foot down right there, an outstanding catch. And another situation, Scott, where the two defensive backs flowed to David Goodman. He ran a little out to the pylon right at the goal line, and that left Mike O'Connell open deep in the back of the end zone.
Josh Albrecht adds the extra point, and Eau Claire has jumped out in front, 7-0. We'll be right back. Scott Emmerich and Bob Bradovich back at Roger Herring Stadium, where we've just witnessed Eau Claire complete a 13-play, 80-yard drive. A drive that encapsulated 8 minutes and 3 seconds. Austin Nye to O'Connell for the touchdown. Here's the kick. And again, this one is going to sail out of bounds. A second time in a row, Brett Emanuel has booted the kickoff out of bounds. And that gives La Crosse excellent field position. They'll start at their own 40-yard line. But what an opening drive for Eau Claire, Bob.
Oh, absolutely. When you can get your quarterback completing 8 of 8, and you mix in some running with Joel Sweeney and Mr. Olson, it's exactly the way Eau Claire wanted to start. And again, you go back to last year when it was just a nightmare first half for UW-EC and quarterback Austin Nye. But as we've talked about, he's now in his second year as a starter, junior as opposed to a sophomore, and you can see the progression in his career.
We'll see how La Crosse responds. 1st and 10. 3 receivers in the game. Kevin Lynn is the lone running back. He gets the handoff here. Has some open running space for a brief moment. Picks up about 4.
Kevin Lynn with a carry.
Kevin Lynn, part of a deep core of running backs for UW-La Crosse. 172 yards rushing coming in. A Houston, Minnesota native. He was a member of Houston's state championship team in Minnesota a few years back. 9-man football.
You play football, you play football. 5'7", 205, he's a football player. Stayed in the area, now here at UW-Eau.
Pressure coming, Butterfield gets it away just in time. Pass intended for Brock McMullen, but there's that pressure we talked about earlier.
And what Eau Claire will do, they'll really mix up their blitzes a lot. They won't send the same guys all the time. And if you're an offensive lineman, there has to be communication amongst the guys up front to know who's got who picking up. And that time, the offensive line went to some of the D linemen and they missed, they went to some of the linebackers, missed some of the D linemen, and they had a clear shot at Butterfield, who did well just to get that pass away.
We mentioned third down conversions as a positive for the Eau Claire offense. The Eagles struggle on third downs. They only convert 33%. Here's one here on 3rd and 6. Pressure coming again on the blitz and brought down. Pat Hendricks dropping Butterfield for a loss of 8.
Hendricks is the nose guard, came straight up the middle, and again, Scott, they brought pressure with the linebackers. UWL's offensive line was able to pick up those blitzing linebackers, but the nose tackle just worked his way straight through.
Number 64, as you see on this replay, just got his shoe top. Christian Hollingstead is into punt for La Crosse. And David Goodman, the dangerous David Goodman, back to return, and it's blocked! Scooped up, recovered by the Eagles eventually, but it won't matter because it's going to be Eau Claire football in excellent field position.
Huge momentum swings in this first quarter, Scott. And once again, good pressure by the Blugolds. Didn't quite catch the number. Tyler Janis, number 3, was one of the guys that was diving on that pile to try to get the football. But in any event, excellent field position for the Blugolds on the La Crosse 25.
So the Blugolds special teams coming up big here, and now 1st and 10 for 25. Gut check time for the Eagles early on. Austin Nye leading the Blugolds back out on offense. He was perfect on that opening drive, 8 for 8.
Hey, check 278, Daniel, ready. Set hot.
Sweeney gets the handoff. Brought down by Lucas Schmitz. He wears number 81. Lucas Schmitz is an interesting story, kind of slender for a defensive end. He's actually a converted wide receiver. How many guys do you see go from wide receiver to D-line?
Well, and you could see that speed on display there. He just had good backside pursuit, ran down Sweeney from behind. That blocked punt give the recovery to Eau Claire's Mitch Olson.
Second and 9. Blitz coming now for the Eagles. This pass is caught, brought down immediately. And that is O'Connell, who's off to a fast start here. A short gain of 3, so that sets up another third down situation. And the Blugolds were perfect in third down situations on their opening drive.
Mike O'Connell's been in this program a while. He's out of Eau Claire Regis High School. His father, Chris O'Connell, former coach for the Ramblers. He had a brother, Ryan, who played down here at UW-Eau, but Mike has been dogged by injuries in his Eau Claire career, but he's really healthy for the first time this season, and the numbers are bearing that out.
4 receivers in now, third down. Nye has some running room. He's got the first down and more. Down to the 5-yard line, Austin Nye. The Eagles looked like they came with a blitz that time, and Nye saw the opening.
Watch Austin Nye. He's looking downfield, but right here he recognizes that he doesn't have everything, and at this point, you see Nick Brousseau, a nice kick-out block there. It opened things up, and Nye had a lot of running room in front of him. And not sliding either, Scott.
Matt Buswell saving the touchdown. First and goal from the 5. Blugolds trying to extend their lead. Olson gets the handoff, and the Eagles are right there. A loss of 3. Metzgroff leading the charge. So is John Rozek, the outside linebacker.
Just a situation where La Crosse had far more defenders than Eau Claire had blockers. Jake Holterman, 77 there for Eau Claire, looking around and saying, which one of these 4 guys do I need to block here?
Well, we talked about how in each game there are like 5 or 6 momentum type swinging moments. This might be one here at the end of this drive for the Eagles.
Hey, Ringo. Ready?
Second and goal from the 9. Nye, quick hitter. O'Connell for another touchdown. Mike O'Connell on the 9-yard touchdown reception, and it's a 2-touchdown lead for Eau Claire.
Once again, Mike O'Connell just getting open and finding a seam in that La Crosse zone, and basically the Eagles just forgot about it.
Tell you what, Eau Claire's doing some serious damage when the Blugolds go to 4 receivers. Albright to finish this drive off and make it a 14-0 lead. Mark Munger on the hold, the kick up, and it's good. 14-0, Blugolds lead, late first quarter. We'll keep things right here. Here's another look at the touchdown, Bob.
Just a pretty simple route run by Mike O'Connell on the left side. Just goes down about 5 yards, turns, catches the ball, and he happened to be right between 3 defenders. Nobody exactly was right on him. And you're right, Scott, when they run 4 wide receivers, you've got to account for all those people, but you really have to pay the most attention to David Goodman. But I think what the Eagles are learning the hard way is you can't just let other guys run free, because the way Austin Nye has started this game, as sharp as he is in terms of his accuracy, you're letting guys open, and that's just a pitch and catch.
O'Connell came into this game with 17 catches on the season. He already has 6 in this game and for 2 touchdowns. At this rate, he'll match his entire season total by the end of this game.
Now, it bears pointing out, Scott, that last week in Eau Claire against Oshkosh, Blugolds went up 13-0 after 1, and then that game swung. So we'll see what the Eagles can do. This one far from over. We've done enough of these games, especially in this series, Scott, that these games are awfully very wild, very back and forth affairs.
Albright has now taken over the kickoff duties, and he kicks off to Jacob Welch. Welch hurtling to the 30-yard line, and that's where the Eagles will take over first and 10.
Jake Welch with a return.
Still early enough in this game, Scott. I don't think the Eagles need to do anything differently in terms of what their game plan is. I just think they need to just work on establishing a drive, and especially I think what you want is to take some time off the clock, because what the defense needs to do for UW-Eau is just sit down and straighten some things out in terms of their coverages.
With your game ticket, redeemable at Festival Foods.
On first and 10 from the 30, Butterfield under center. The toss to Hertramp, and a short gain up the middle.
And Scott, talk about the impact of special teams as well. La Crosse looked like they were going to get some points on the board. They miss a field goal, and they have a punt block, and right away Eau Claire is countered with 2 scores.
Being sound in the kicking game. Didn't I hear some coach say that once long ago?
I believe, yeah, I think every football coach who's ever lived talks about offense, defense, special teams.
3 receivers in now for the Eagles on 2nd and 7. Butterfield overthrows his intended receiver. That was Tony Bilderback on the far side of the field, so that sets up a 3rd and long situation for the Eagles.
A little miscommunication there between quarterback and wide receiver.
The intended receiver.
Butterfield threw the pass one way. Bilderback turned inside.
Butterfield will now go shotgun. And a little too anxious that time is Sean Graham. Butterfield got him with the hard count, so that'll cost the Blugolds 5 yards.
Defense, number 41, 5 yards. Remains 3rd down.
When they do film session at Eau Claire early next week, Sean Graham is going to be kind of slinking down in his seat a little bit on that one, because I think that one may get pointed out by his coaches and teammates.
So that sets up a 3rd and a much more manageable 3rd and 2 situation. Graham sneaking up towards the line of scrimmage again. They hand it off, and 1st down yardage is Ben Hertramp.
Sean Graham had him wrapped up, but he had him wrapped up low, and Hertramp with some good strength. You go back to that offside penalty, Scott, really changes the situation in terms of down and distance. Big difference between 3rd and 2 and 3rd and 7.
So that keeps the drive alive for the Eagles. Final seconds of the 1st quarter. We'll see if UW-Eau decides to run a play here before the end of the quarter.
With the tackle, brings up a 1st down.
They toss to Hertramp, hit and brought down in the backfield. A nice play. Kalen Stiddelberg, the outside linebacker, holding Hertramp to a gain of a yard. That'll do it. The 1st quarter of action is in the books. It's been all Eau Claire so far. They lead it 14-0. We'll be right back. Scott Emmerich and Bob Bradovich back at Herring Stadium. The Blugolds leading La Crosse 14-0. Eagles facing a 2nd and 9 from their own 43. Hertramp up the middle, breaking tackles and into the open. Ben Hertramp diving for the end zone. Touchdown, Eagles! 57 yards.
Boy, Ben Hertramp, outstanding effort. And how about the wheels? There were a number of defenders that looked like they had the angle on him, Scott. Hertramp just outran them.
His 2nd touchdown rushing of the season, and a great downfield block by Nate Ward, the wide receiver, and then Hertramp turning on the Jets.
Watch the dive here for the pylon.
He got the pylon just before he landed out of bounds, at least in the official's mind. Justin Hinker adding the point after, and the Eagles have responded. 14-7 now on the 1st play of the 2nd quarter. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Thanks.
Well, the Eagles getting the response they needed. A long touchdown run by Ben Hertramp, 57 yards. We'll show it to you again in a moment. But right now, Justin Hinker getting ready to kick off for the Eagles. And keep an eye on number 6 for Eau Claire, Thurgood Dennis. Number 1 in the conference in kickoff returns.
Just a freshman, Scott, out of Green Bay Notre Dame High School.
This will be Dennis from his own 14. They fake the reverse. Dennis brought down at the 22. Good coverage that time by the Eagles, led by Jacob Flegner. Here's another look at Ben Hertramp. We were wondering if maybe he got into the end zone or not. Did he get the pylon before he landed out of bounds?
The return.
There's the elbow down, the ball not quite to the pylon. Of course, we have the benefit of replay. Even if they ruled him out at the 1, it would have been first and goal for the Eagles.
A bang play for the officials, Scott. You're right. Officials right there. We have that benefit of replay, but in any event, an outstanding effort and a great run by Hertram. Well blocked up front by the Eagles.
My theory is anytime you got to do super slow-mo, you just have to buy what the official called. And that was super slow-mo. Ooh, almost an interception that time for the Eagles.
Nice pass, knocked down by Mextroth.
Mextroth almost came up with it, and I threw it right to him. And
well, his first incompletion nearly could have been disaster for the Blugolds because that was right in the arms of Mextroth.
Nye had been 10 of 10 up to that point, so 2nd and 10 for the Blugolds. Ball at their own 22. Three receivers to your top of your screen. Joel Sweeney is the lone running back in the pistol formation behind Austin Nye. The give is to Sweeney. Sweeney stacked up, still spins forward for a nice gain, about 6 yards on the play.
That's what we talk about, the feet of Joel Sweeney. When he keeps those feet pushing, he is very difficult. He's good at picking his hole. And the thing with Sweeney, when he just drops his shoulder pads and just pushes forward, he's a big man to bring down.
Brings up 3rd down.
Well, here's one of those 3rd down situations, Bob. Lacrosse has had a tough time getting off the field on 3rd downs. The Blugolds have been terrific. 2 receivers to the far side of the field, 1 to the near side. Sweeney, the lone running back. Pressure coming. That pass is tipped up in the air, incomplete, intended for O'Connell. He was turning around hoping for a flag, and for the first time on 3rd down, the Eagle defense holds. So it'll be 4th down Eau Claire, I beg your pardon.
And interesting on that series, Scott, after Eau Claire was having so much success running 4 wide receivers, they dropped one of the receivers, brought a tight end in on the formation. Wonder if they're doing that for either extra pass protection or maybe to establish some of that running game. In any event, a 3 and out for the Blugolds.
Jacob Fleigner back to return this punch, standing on his own 40. Scott Brzezinski gets the snap, good snap. A low liner over Fleigner's head. He's going to chase it down. Scoops it up at the 15. Fleigner wrestled down at the 21-yard line. Good punt and good coverage by the Eau Claire Blugolds that time. Mitch Olson down there to make the tackle.
Yeah, he wrapped up the returner that time, Scott, and a good kick by Brzezinski. A little bit of pressure there by the Eagles, but Brzezinski got that one to turn over, and return man had some problems with it, and it was well covered that time by the Blugolds.
We should say, too, that punt was into the wind. So the Eagles, 1st and 10 from their own 20-yard line. See if they go back to that ground game. It's been successful so far today. 8 carries, 79 yards as a team. And off the middle, Lind. And the Blugold defense must have heard me because they collapsed on him right away.
You know, we joke sometimes about Packers head coach Mike McCarthy and his obsession with pad level. But that time, the Blugolds defenders got under that old line and got the penetration. Were able to stuff that one after a very short gain.
Eric Neiman leading the charge on that play for the Blugolds. Very minimal game. We'll call it 2nd and a long 9. Hertram for about 5. Andy Newman with the tackle that time. Lindsay Hayes standing by down on the sideline. Lindsay, what do you have for us?
Well, we just wanted to give you a little update on one of the offensive coaches for the Eagles, and that is assistant head coach Mike Anderson. He will be inducted into the 2012 Wisconsin Football Association Hall of Fame this March, and he's one of 21 inductees. One of the noted ones, he will also join his father Milo and Ron Wolf of the Green Bay Packers. So 13 seasons as an offensive line coach for the Eagles, 17 seasons with this program.
Thanks a lot, Lindsay. Coach Anderson, a familiar figure here in La Crosse, was also the head coach of La Crosse Central High School before he became an assistant here at La Crosse. And on 3rd down, a nice job by the Blugolds of stacking up the running play, so that'll force the Eagles to punt.
Again, is the middle of that Eau Claire defense that was really strong at the point of attack, allowing the linebacker to come in from the back and wrap up the ball carrier. Interesting play selection on third down, and now it forces La Crosse punt.
Hollingstead back to punt for La Crosse. Keep an eye on the protection here. The Blugolds blocked the last one. Hollingstead with a beautiful punt with the wind at his back, and it is caught at the 20. Clint Larson to the 25, and that is it.
Hollingstead's punt returned by Clint Larson.
Pressure on Hollingstead that time, Plaster, but that time the blockers for La Crosse were able to steer him just to the outside. He was not able to get a hand on that punt the way the Blugolds had blocked the last one.
Hollingstead's punt, 53 yards.
They blocked the last one, got close this time. Hollingstead actually got run into by one of his own players.
In that case, he won't mind it as much because he at least got the punt away.
Nye looking for the quick hitter. This is Goodman. Goodman with a nice gain on first down up to the 32. Mextroff with the tackle.
Pass complete to David Goodman.
Nye had missed on his last couple passes. Now he's back in the groove. Again, a fast start last week against Oshkosh, was not able to sustain it.
Well, Goodman had to limp off the field on that play. The Eau Claire Blugolds leading receiver. We'll keep an eye on that, although Nye has had no problems finding the other receivers in his arsenal. Here comes the blitz. The handoff goes to Olson with running room. First down yardage before Barr brings him down at the 43. A nice run by Olson.
Just a case, Scott, where the Blugolds had the right play called for that La Crosse blitz. La Crosse was blitzing on the far side of the field, and that play just went to the near side, opened up nicely on that left side of the line. Matt Withrow, the tackle, Abe Ward, the guard, creating a nice seam for Olson.
Blugolds first down at the 43.
That's Lindsmeyer in motion. The give to Olson again. This time stacked up. Nicholas Matthews would have none of it. No gain on the play.
Matthews diagnosing that play, just flowing down the line. Didn't get sucked in, just flowed down the line, met the ball carrier in the hole.
Matthews, the senior defensive tackle, former all-conference player from last year. One of the top returners on that UW-Eau defense. 2nd and 10 now for the Blugolds. 3 receivers to the top of your screen. And Sweeney, the lone running back behind Nye. Pressure coming from Immel. Immel drops Nye for a loss. Ryan Immel, his 3rd sack of the season. Probably more of a coverage sack though, Bob.
Very much so, and the Eagles did a very good job of shadowing the Eau Claire receivers. And I think Nye, who so often has a good sense of who's coming from the backside, just lost the fact that you had Immel coming right there for the sack.
So that sets up a 3rd and long, 3rd and 17 for the Blugolds. Here's a handoff to Sweeney, hit by Immel immediately. Ryan Immel making a statement on back-to-back plays, and it'll be 4th down for Eau Claire.
It was a promising drive, Scott, but on that first down reception, David Goodman had to go out with an injury, and I think that changes so much. We've talked about it several times. Goodman draws so much attention, it opens up other things in the pass game. On both the previous play on that sack, there was just nothing open because nobody was able to get free in that secondary.
Jacob Welch this time standing back to return this punt. This one will go out of bounds from Brzezinski, and let's see where they mark it. 35-yard line exactly, and that's where the Eagles will scrimmage. You're about midway through the second quarter of action. In case you're just joining us, Eau Claire jumped out to a 14-0 lead. 2 touchdown passes from Austin Nye to Mike O'Connell. The Eagles responded with a 57-yard touchdown run by Ben Hertramp, and here we are about midway through the second quarter, 14-7, Eau Claire leading. Three receivers in now for the Eagles. Right up the middle, Hertramp for 5. Eagles finding some room up the middle. Some of the other plays have struggled a little bit, but that's been one they've been going to so far, Bob.
Yeah, running behind that center, the sophomore Andrew Herman. You know, in prepping for this game, Scott, so many new names in this lacrosse 2-deep, especially offensively, but it's a good core of players for Joel Detweiler, players that should grow in this system.
Flag on the play before the snap. False start, I believe they're going to call it on Trevor Hudson, the tight end.
Prior to the snap, false start, 84 in the offense. 5-yard penalty, remains, second down.
5-yard penalty on the cross. It's been a pretty clean game penalty-wise so far, but that one costs the Eagles 5 yards at 2nd and 10, back at the 35. The Blugolds rush 5. Here's the pass. Ward fumbles the football, but hops right back on it, and he does have first down yardage. A bullet that time. Butterfield to Nate Ward. First down, Eagles. Oh, that could have been disaster, though.
Talk about a favorable bounce for the Eagles, because Ward was wide open on that seam, but he just took a pop right there.
Chad Samuelson delivered the goods and knocked it right out of the arms of Ward.
Right on that large L right at midfield, and that ball was sitting right there, and a good job by the receiver to keep his head in the game and go back and get that football and keep this drive alive.
The fake to Hertramp this time. Butterfield stepping up, looking for Bilderback, going deep, overthrew him.
Boy, that ball just sailed, Scott. I wonder if that's the effect of the wind, because Butterfield put a lot of air on that one, wanted Bilderback to run under it, and by the time that ball came down, that was at the end of the end zone. As I'm watching the trajectory of that ball, I'm thinking, boy, that could hit him right in stride about the 5-yard line. Instead, it wound up at the back of the end zone.
Yeah, Butterfield does have the wind at his back, and it is a pretty strong breeze, 13 to about 20 miles per hour. And as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, blowing from the lower left-hand corner of your screen to the upper right-hand corner. So kind of a crosswind, but still at his back. 2nd and 10. Hertramp up the middle, more running room, and close to a first down. I believe they're going to give it to him. Then Hertramp, simple handoff up the middle, and that's been working well for the Eagles.
Again, they're just running behind the center, Andrew Herman, and that time Pagel, the right guard, opened up a little seam right there.
On 3rd and inches, Butterfield takes it himself. They didn't want the Blugolds to get set, and he has the first down.
Butterfield for first down.
You know, doing these games over the years, Scott, when lacrosse is at its best offensively, they have a good rhythm. They have a good tempo in the huddle. They're getting in and out of their huddle. They're running their plays. Good mix of run and pass. They tend to pass on running downs. They run on passing downs. It's a difficult offense to slow down when they're doing their thing.
Now the big left tackle, Ross Schultz, comes out of the game for a moment. Jared Mickelson checks in at left tackle. 1st and 10 for the Eagles from the 41. They fake. Pressure coming from Hendricks. Butterfield takes it himself and gets taken down at the 39-yard line. Great hustle on the near side of the field. That is number 98, Eric Neiman. A short gain of 2.
Well, Pat Hendricks, the nose tackle, trying to run down Butterfield, and he made the dive, came up a little short, but good pursuit that time from the backside by the Blugolds.
And now Schultz back in the lineup at left tackle for the Eagles, a 6'5", 300-pound junior, the transfer from Mankato State. 2nd and 8. They swing it out. Hertramp with some room. Hertramp down to the 30-yard line. First down yardage. The drive continues for the Eagles. Hertramp with the reception.
Little wheel route coming out of the backfield. That was a play that really burned the Blugolds last week against Oshkosh when they had the Oshkosh offense in a real unfavorable down and distance situation. Oshkosh ran that wheel route and got a big gain and wound up getting a touchdown on that drive. Shorter gain that time by the Eagles, but effective because they got the first down.
Kevin Lind up the middle. Brought down immediately by Graham. I beg your pardon, Andy Newman wearing number 44, a short gain of 2 yards. Now Hertramp back into the lineup for the Eagles. He's off to a terrific start. 10 carries, 105 yards already for Ben Hertramp.
Had 57 of those coming on that long touchdown run.
Butterfield calling the play at the line of scrimmage now, and it's a handoff straight ahead. Hertramp again, inside the 10. Then Hertramp continuing his outstanding play here in the first half, and it'll be first and goal Eagles. And a little extracurricular activity after the whistle, but no flags.
Nothing fancy about it, Scott, just a straight up the middle run. And I'm not sure why the Blugolds just are not filling that middle. They're somehow getting sucked to the outside.
Hertramp again up the middle. Down to the 2. I tell you what, Bob, you got to give a lot of credit to that front 3 for the Eagles. Andrew Herman, the center, the guards, Ben Pagel and Justin Peterson, a young, inexperienced offensive line, but they are having their way so far for the Eagles, and that Eagle sideline is pumped up. Timeout Eau Claire. They lead it 14-7 with the Eagles knocking on the door. We'll be right back. Back at Herring Stadium where the Eagles are facing a second and goal from the 2-yard line. A touchdown or an extra point could tie it up. And the Eagles bringing in some heavy personnel. Brett Galligan, a defensive tackle, is going to line up at fullback in front of Ben Hertramp in the Eagles backfield. Second and goal from the 2. Now Singer in motion. Hertramp into the end zone, and now the Eagles are an extra point away from tying this one up.
Ben Hertramp, his second touchdown of the game. Scott, he came into this game averaging 9 yards a carry, and he's picking up in this game right where he left off. When you watch Eau Claire, they play that 3-4 defense. Number of times this game, they've taken those 2 outside linebackers, put them on the line, which means if you can control that nose tackle and push him, create that seam, you've got some running lanes, and that's what the Eagles have done in the second quarter.
Justin Hinker's point after is up and good, and we are back to even. The Eagles have answered Eau Claire's initial surge, 14-all. Stay with us. WIAC football continues. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Family, Friends, and Alumni game here at UW-Eau, a fancy way of saying homecoming here in La Crosse. Deadlocked 14-all. Scott Emmerich and Bob Radovich here from Herring Stadium. The kick goes to the far side of the field and tripped up, brought down at the 35-yard line. That was Clint Larson on the return.
Larson with the return.
And let's head down to the field now. Lindsey Hayes, David Goodman stepped out of that last drive for the Eagles. Lindsey, do you have an update for us?
Yeah, I headed over to that sideline, and actually it's his right ankle that's bothering him, and so the trainer unwrapped it, retaped it up. They had him running a few sprints on the sideline as well as doing a few cuts left and right, and it was still one of those that you could see there's still some pain there, but it's questionable. The trainer wouldn't say yes or no one way or the other, but my guess is he will be back in the game at some point. Guys?
Yeah, we can confirm that he is back in the game. He was in on that first play right there, that completion to O'Connell. And Goodman with a slight limp as he walks back to the huddle. Goodman wearing number 4 for the Blugolds. You see him now in your picture.
And as we've talked about in this game, Scott, his presence opens up so many things for other receivers. Now the question is, will Lacrosse still pay extra attention to Goodman simply because he's out there? Or do you say, okay, we'll man up on him knowing that he's got the bad wheel?
Here's Nye, and the keeper slides down at about the 38-yard line. It is good enough for a first down. You mentioned Goodman and how much of an impact he has in the game. Remember a couple years ago in 2009, he had that touchdown catch against Lacrosse for 93 yards. It came during a situation when Lacrosse had controlled the game up to that point. That was a huge momentum turner, and that's the kind of player David Goodman is. So it's a good news for Eau Claire that he's back in the lineup.
He goes 6'1", 182, but he's got an excellent vertical, and he's so good in his timing, and he can usually go and get the ball.
Pressure that time on Austin Nye, sending him to the turf. Brandon Heeg, the freshman defensive end.
Brandon Heeg breaking that one up.
That'll set up a second down. Here's another look at it. The Eagles starting to get some pressure here the last couple series.
You saw Heeg, he just did a little stutter step, went right around Matt Withrow, the tackle, and he had a clear shot on Nye, who was really feeling the effects of it. And speaking of feeling the effects last week, Nye last week, late in that game against Oshkosh, literally ill on the field trying to gut it out in that final drive for the Blugolds.
Oh, he gutted it out all right, didn't he? Austin Gatch with the reception, but John Rosick is right there, so that'll set up a 3rd and long situation for the Blugolds.
Making the reception.
Trying to ISO on David Goodman, and he is really favoring that right ankle. Now you wonder if maybe he might be trying to lull somebody to sleep, or he is really feeling a lot of pain. Ankles are tough. Sometimes, you know, initially when you come back after getting retaped, it's just something you think about, but then eventually you get used to it and you start playing with it. So we'll see what happens with David Goodman.
Goodman is the middle part of the 3 receivers to the near side of the field. Nye's going to try to run for it. Now he backs up and just chucks it out of bounds. And that'll set up a 4th down situation. So more pressure by the Eagles, forcing the Blugolds to punt. And the Blugolds, who had been so good earlier in this game on 3rd downs, now forced to punt for a 3rd time today.
And Goodman, I watched him as he walked off the field, really laboring. You tell he's very frustrated. He got to the bench, ripped off his helmet. We'll keep an eye on that situation because that changes so many things that Eau Claire likes to do offensively.
Jacob Fleckner now back to return for the Eagles. The Scott Brzezinski punt into the wind. Fleckner's going to let it bounce, and it bounces out of bounds at about the 21-yard line. So the Eagles take over deep in their own territory, but with momentum on their side. Game tied at 14 apiece, just over 2 minutes to go here until halftime.
And Scott coming in, I wasn't really sure exactly how this one would play out, but I figured just based on stats and personnel that we'd have one of those close games in this series, and I think that's borne out. Eau Claire with the early momentum, Lacrosse getting it back in the 2nd quarter.
Yeah, there was a time there in this quarter where you felt this game could kind of lean in the other direction to Blowout City, but the Eagles got the big 57-yard touchdown run from Ben Hertramp, and ever since then, they have had the momentum. They have the ball right now, 1st and 10. The handoff to Hertramp, and that one sniffed out nicely. Nate Johnson is there, stopping Hertramp. Loss of 1 on the play.
Kind of a slow developing play, a lot different than a lot of those other Hertramp runs that were just quick hitters up the middle. They tried to get him wide that side as Eau Claire had kind of stacked that middle, but Eau Claire's defenders did a good job of flowing to the football.
Jake Safstrom also in there. Now here comes the blitz. Butterfield with time. The protection breaks down, and Butterfield goes down at the 19-yard line.
Another coverage sack that time, Scott, because the Eau Claire defenders really had the Lacrosse receivers locked up, and Butterfield had nowhere to go.
Hendricks and Johnson combining on the sack here, 96 and 64.
And it was really that push from the right side. Nate Johnson, even though he didn't get the sack, he was coming with so hard and with such a push, it took a couple blockers just to steer him to the side, and that opened things up for the other guys.
Well, we're under 2 minutes to go here in the second quarter with this game tied, and facing a 3rd and long situation, the Blugolds hoping to get this ball back here and maybe make something happen before they go into the locker room at halftime. Keep in mind the Blugolds will start with possession in the 3rd quarter.
Mike Butterfield, the quarterback, he's 4 of 9, 48 yards, a long of 17. You get the feeling, Scott, at some point Butterfield's going to have to make some big throws because at some point the defense is going to adjust and start taking away some of those runs. So pressure on the sophomore quarterback. I like what I see out of him. He's got a good pocket presence. He throws a nice ball. But again, there's only one way of getting experience, and that's by playing.
So we'll see what offensive coordinator Reed Hoskins has dialed up here on 3rd and 12 from the 19-yard line. Eagles with 3 receivers to the top part of your screen, 1 to the bottom. Tony Bilderback, number 82, at the bottom of your screen. He's come up with some big plays in the last couple of weeks. Blugolds rush 3. They throw it deep, looking for Bilderback, and overthrew him again. Had him for a moment. But once again, with Butterfield throwing with the wind at his back, a little bit too much air under it.
Yeah, again, a pass that looked good when it left his hand and then just kind of sailed on him a little bit. Bilderback's a guy you got to watch. He's got 2 touchdown receptions this season, and with his speed, he's a couple of times now he's got behind the Blugolds defensive backs.
Clint Larson is standing on his own 32. Hollingstead to punt with the wind at his back. This one kind of an end-over-ender. It's going to take a bounce and bounce out of bounds at the 47-yard line. So with about a minute and a half or so to go until halftime, the Blugolds have the ball. Excellent field position and a chance to do some damage before halftime.
And the Blugolds defense feeling very good about itself. After getting gashed on the previous couple drives, a good defensive stand there. And special teams helping to flip the field position a little bit. Blugolds will start on their own 48.
Matt Olson is the lone running back lined up behind Austin Nye in the pistol formation on 1st down. They dump it off to Olson, and Rozek had that one sniffed out well. Through the hands of Olson anyway, 2nd down.
And that play was going nowhere, even if it had been on target. So for the Blugolds, I think, despite the physical pain they took on this play, I think they'll take the outcome.
Well, Nye, after starting 10 for 10 in this game, is now 3 for his last 8. And the Eagles have dialed up some pressure here, too.
Blugolds going into the wind here.
Four-man rush. Nye in trouble. And brought down. John Rozek with the sack.
High sack by Rozek.
His first sack of the season.
They list him as 5'11", 220. He has got an absolute motor, Scott. Just the kind of kid that doesn't give up on a play. And look at him make up ground on the quarterback, Nye.
Here's another look at John Rozek. He wasn't really rushing on this play. It seemed like he was just sort of spying Austin Nye on that time, and that spying paid off. Timeout Eagles, they maybe sense an opportunity to get the ball back and put some points on the board. New head coach Joel Detweiler, you get a look at Todd Glazier and his crew and defense over there on the far side of the field. Coach Glazier in his 6th season at UW-Eau Claire. 31 wins, 26 losses, and then on the other side, Joel Detweiler in his first year as head coach at UW-Eau came to La Crosse after being assistant coach at Wartburg since 2004. Detweiler, very familiar with the WIAC, played at Platteville, also was an assistant coach there, was a defensive back for Platteville back in the mid-90s.
Hey, Todd Glazier, a UW-EC graduate, played football for the Blugolds. He coached in high school at Neilsville High School. He was on Bob Nielsen's staff for a number of years, as well as Todd Hoffner's staff. went off to Marietta College to be a head coach. So interesting parallels between these two head coaches, and I think both schools very happy to get an alum, somebody who really understands the program, the community, the school, and can help recruit players to that university.
And in Detweiler's case, a guy who really understands the conference. These two guys really bleed the WIAC. All right, 3rd and long for the Blugolds here. Nye running out of room and running out of receivers as well. Throws incomplete, and that sets up a 4th down.
Part of the problem there, Scott, is all the receivers were on the right side, and Nye started flowing to the left. And once he started flowing left, he had no running room. There was absolutely nothing for him to do.
It almost looked like a max protect situation. There were only a couple receivers out. So now Brzezinski punting into the wind. Jake Flegner standing back at his own 19-yard line.
55, ready.
This one's going to bounce in front of Flegner. Scoops it up at the 25. Dangerous play, and he is brought down immediately. Good coverage that time by Nick Slade.
Well, very fortunate for La Crosse there as Flegner scooped up that bouncing ball and nearly lost the handle, but he did all he could to corral that thing. So we'll see what the Eagles do with just under a minute to go here in this second quarter.
Interesting decision here. You know they're not going to get the ball to start the second half, so we'll see what they dial up on offense. Mike Butterfield leading the Eagles back out on the field. Butterfield 4 of 10 so far for 48 yards. Ben Hertramp has been the story offensively, though, at running back for the Eagles. 14 carries, 132 yards. 4 receivers in for the Eagles on 1st down. Butterfield just wanted to dump it off to his running back, except that wasn't his running back. That was his left tackle, Ross Schultz. Hertramp was actually 3 yards further back.
And Ross Schultz is just kind of looking back at the quarterback and saying, you know, I would love to catch the ball, but I can't do that. I'm not an eligible receiver.
And now the flag comes in.
And yeah, the flag came down late. Initially, I'm thinking there's got to be a flag there.
On the offense, loss of down, spot foul.
I know fans get frustrated when a late flag comes in, but when a situation like that on the if it's intentional grounding or not, the referees actually have to come together and say, okay, where was this guy? Was there a receiver there? Was he thrown in the direction of a receiver? And the actual answer was no. It was Ross Schultz, the left tackle. So it's a flag, loss of down as well. And you wonder now if the Eagles might just be content to run out the clock.
Both teams with 1 timeout left.
It's Hertramp up the middle. Hertramp with running room, and he is close to a 1st down. That was a big gain of about 19 yards, and they're going to give him the 1st down on that. So now the Eagles' mindset might change again.
Nice play call that time because Hertramp has run right of center so often in this game. That time he went left of center. Blugolds brought some pressure from the left side. Sean Graham, he just blitzed into the wrong hole.
Under 40 seconds to go till halftime. 1 timeout each team. Butterfield over the middle. Maxinoski. Alex Maxinoski with a 1st down at the 46-yard line. No huddle offense. They do stop the clock temporarily after the 1st down. Now the clock starts. Butterfield up to the line of scrimmage. Blitz coming. Stiddelberg putting the pressure on, and then Butterfield just throws it into the ground. That one intended for, it looks like Maxinoski. So that stops the clock with about 20 seconds to go until halftime. Keep in mind, Justin Hinker last week for the Eagles kicked a 50-yard field goal against Jamestown. The Eagles are moving in the direction in which Hinker would have the wind at his back, so that would mean they'd probably need to get down to about the 32 or 33-yard line of Eau Claire to have a chance. 2nd and 10. Inside they go with running room. 1st down, Eagles. That was Nate Ward. 14 seconds to go till halftime. The Eagles do have one timeout. Clock rolling now. 10 seconds left. And now a timeout. The Eagles let 4 seconds get away. And actually a little bit more as the clock is down to 7 seconds until halftime.
It's going to make it tough here because they're just going to have to get about a 12-yard game to be in range. So I think it takes running the football out of the equation.
And they need something to the sideline.
You're going to need something to the sideline is what you're going to need to do. And being there on the near hatch, it's going to have to come to that near sideline.
It needs to be to the sideline, and it needs to be fast. Hey, there you get a look at some of the atmosphere here on homecoming.
Well, they had front and back going there.
All right.
They had the body paint going.
You know it's homecoming when the body paint comes out.
Well, exactly.
Well, if you just joined us, Eau Claire jumped out to a 14-0 lead in this one, but the Eagles have bounced back with 2 touchdowns to even things up. Eau Claire dominating early, the Eagles responding later. As you get a look at head coach Joel Detweiler, Mike Butterfield leading the offense back out on the field. Keep an eye on Tony
Just going to
Bilderback.
say the same thing, Scott. Tony Bilderback on the near side. Couple times in this game he's gotten deep behind the secondary. Butterfield has just overshot him.
Tall, speedy receiver. If they do Hail Mary, they just may decide to chuck it up in his direction. They get it complete to Welch. He gets out of bounds with 1 second left. So the Eagles with a chance to kick a field goal now. Butterfield to Jake Welch out of bounds at the 28. Welch took a lick. He's limping on the sideline, but now they'll attempt. No, they won't go for the field goal. Butterfield and the offense still out there. They do have the wind at their back.
Kyle Thorpe came up for the hit. He just couldn't get the receiver down. And nice job to get out of bounds and stop the clock.
Last play of the half here. The Eagles need to go to the end zone. They chuck it up, looking for Bilderback, but it's going to be intercepted. Tyler Janis in the end zone picks it off. And we are deadlocked here at halftime, 14-14. A very intriguing first half of play.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of different things in this game, Scott. We've seen some good special teams play, a block punt by the Blugolds. We've seen Eau Claire very efficient passing the ball with Austin Nye, the quarterback, leading the way. And then we saw Lacrosse getting back into it, establishing Hertrap, the running back. His 57-yard burst down that near sideline was kind of the turning point in this game and helped Lacrosse get back in the game. It's a tie game at halftime. Who knows? Maybe we're headed for another barn burner.
Hertrap doing the story for the Eagles in the first half. 15 carries, 153 yards. Mike O'Connell, sensational for the Blugolds in that first half as well, receiving with 2 touchdown catches. So some interesting things for the coaches to discuss here in the halftime locker room. Lindsay Hayes is standing by with UW-Eau Claire head coach Todd Glazier. Lindsay, take it away.
All right, Coach. First half, defensive-wise, at least get a stop there at the end to keep them out of the end zone. But you did allow 2 touchdowns on the run. What are you going to change the second half there?
Well, we just got to fit up on the run a lot better. We haven't been doing that. The seam's been a little bit smaller, but we got to fit up a lot better on it.
Offensively, your 2 touchdowns come early. You get off to a hot start right on that first drive. What do you got to do, get Nye back going? The second half quite quiet on offense.
Well, we got to take care of their pressure. They're bringing some blitz and keeping us off balance that a little bit, and we got to get back to running the football a little bit.
All right, lastly, Nye, leadership from him. How important is that, and what do you want to see from him in the second half?
Well, he just needs to keep taking what they're giving him and just take 1 quarter at a time.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Yep.
Guys, back up to you.
All right, Lindsay, thank you very much. Deadlocked 14 apiece here at Roger Herring Stadium, WIAC football. The halftime show coming your way next. Stay with us.
I'm Dustin Lukey, back in studio with you for the Wellshire Capital Halftime Report. Lots to get to before the second half at Veterans Memorial Sports Complex, where the Blugolds and Eagles are knotted at 14 apiece. Great game so far. We'll get to the highlights in a minute, but first, we'll give you a look at a school that strives for excellence to the point where it's their motto. Here's a look at the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire.
At the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire, we're used to others saying nice things about us. National publications such as U.S. News and World Report, Kiplinger's, and Princeton Review list us among the top academic institutions and best higher education values. Downbeat Magazine has selected Jazz One as winner of the large Jazz Band Award. And the Blugold Marching Band, one of the largest in the nation, is regularly invited to play at major events, including Green Bay Packers and Minnesota Vikings football games. But what matters most to us is what our students have to say.
Our professors here care more about teaching than they do anything else, and that was so impressive to me when I came here, that I could be an individual student. My advisor knows who I am, my other professors know who I am, and they care about how I do.
They give excellent scholarships, and that was ultimately one main reason why I came here, because university can be very expensive, and UW-EC makes that easy for us to say yes to Eau Claire.
This place has everything that they're looking for in an education. It's a very affordable price, and the level of education that they're getting is spectacular.
It's one of the most beautiful campuses I've ever been on. We have incredible experiences through study abroad, through the athletics, through the music program, and I think that we're set apart by just the incredible people that really come out of Eau Claire.
The University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire. Excellence, our measure, our motto, our goal. Learn more about what sets UW-Eau Claire apart at onlyuwec.com.
Now, being a student athlete can be challenging. The majority of your time is either spent at school, practice, or competing. Life added another twist for UW La Crosse football player. News 19's Lindsay Hayes joins us now with Brock McMullen's story. Lindsay?
Wausau native Brock McMullen was diagnosed last December with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, a cancer that affects the lymph nodes. And Brock said that this past offseason has been quite the challenge. He's had physical pain, weight loss, not to mention it's been a mental battle. But he said it was a great support system from family, friends, and football that made the world of difference in his recovery. Blocks out on the football field really don't compare to the hit UW-La Crosse tight end Brock McMullen took last December.
When he gave you a percentage of survival, I guess you could say, and mine was about 85%, I think he said, but whenever a doctor like that puts a percentage on your life is really when it kind of hits you.
Just 2 days before Christmas, doctors diagnosed Brock with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, a cancer that affects the lymph nodes and tissue.
Mine was stage 2, which means it was confined to one general area of the body, which for me was my pelvis up to my diaphragm. And there was, I believe, about 6 total tumors in there.
So instead of off-season reps, Brock underwent 6 weeks of intensive chemotherapy.
It's probably the worst 6 weeks of my life. It was harder than anything I've done out there in the football field. I know, football is physically demanding. Your body hurts, you're sore. It's nothing like the chemotherapy with the physical pain you feel in your stomach, in your head, and your entire body, as well as the emotional pain that you're going through.
He lost about 30 pounds during chemo.
I mean, just walking up a flight of stairs got me tired, so I just kind of had to watch myself a little bit.
However, Brock says that family, friends, and football helped him remain optimistic.
Whether it be visiting me in the hospital, phone calls, emails, text messages, and then especially the dance show they put on for me here in the spring. Loads of support from multiple people in multiple ways, and I just want everyone to know that I'm extremely grateful and thankful for everything that they've done.
Getting better wasn't good enough.
That's a hold!
Brock was determined to be back on the field and making plays this season.
The first night we had practice, we ran a conditioning drill that was pretty tough. I ran the whole team through it, and that's probably where I was most impressed with him, is he ran through the whole thing, and we got to the end of practice, and my first impression of him was the physical and mental toughness to battle back, and I think that was kind of like his way of saying, hey, I've beat it.
In August, less than 1 year after diagnosis, doctors deemed chemotherapy a success. Cancer is no longer the battle. Being able to hold a block at 100%, now the priority.
This is probably the sorest I've been in a long time, exhausting, but it feels so good because I haven't experienced it in so long. Yeah, it hurts and it's painful at times, but I was just trying to think the positive part. This feels good to actually be out here rather than sitting back at home and being miserable most of the time.
He does good things out there. He's a guy that's very dependable and is a guy who's a team guy. And to be able to see that in those first couple months was something that I really was like, okay, I've got a nucleus to work with. I got guys that care about each other. That's a big deal.
And for his junior season, he now stands at 6'5", 230 pounds, and is a starter for the Eagles. Brock says football and cancer may be different battles. However, they both take a team effort to win. And some of Brock's team effort in his recovery came from his parents, and I'm joined by them right now. We have both Linda and Jerry McMullen, and they travel all the way from Wausau every week to be for all the home games to be able to see Brock. And Linda, let's first start with you. Really, what has it been like? First of all, it's a mother's worst nightmare, I'm sure, to get that news. But what has really impressed you about his recovery?
Brock is one determined kid, and just his hard work, his dedication, and even right from the start of his diagnosis, one of his first questions was he going to be able to play football again? So when he was given the go-ahead that yes, after treatment he should be good to go, you just knew he had it inside him. He was going to give it all he had, and he did. He wanted to be back out on this field. He wanted to get back in shape, and he was just determined to do it. It's just what's inside of him.
And from your standpoint, Jerry, 8 months, just 8 months ago, he went through chemotherapy. Now to see him back out on the field, how proud are you as a dad to be able to see him, getting back to 100%?
I'm very proud. I had a hard time saying the word cancer for a couple months. And I knew he'd be back out here because Coach Brugge, his Wausau basketball coach, said he wants to be part of a team. He's all about team. It's all about helping. He wants to be part of something to build. And he picked these football guys, and he's learning the game from 2 years ago. He hasn't played it since middle school, and he wants to be part of a winning team concept, and he wants to do anything it takes to win. And like he said in his interview before, just to get banged around and to go through the tortures of football, he's pleased. So no, am I surprised? No, I'm not at all. Not in Brock at all.
Well, thank you both for being with me, and I know Brock's, I'm sure, very proud to have you being here for his games. And guys, now Dustin, I'll send it back up to you.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. Real inspirational story. Thanks for that. Well, we'll be right back in a few moments with more of the Halftime Show. Well, we're only a few moments from the second half, but first we give you a look at the storied history of the University of Wisconsin lacrosse from some of those who know it best.
They say absence makes the heart grow fonder. But when it comes to Eagle football, the experience has never left my mind. I share the same quiet dream that over 10,000 other alums do.
To go back in time, to put on the pads again, even for just one last game.
We learned the game here and were coached by some of the greatest. They made sure we understood that winning was not just a game of X's and O's, but a state of mind.
That no opponent was insurmountable, no challenge impossible, no dream too big.
This has always been a lofty goal, but it is why Roger Herring Stadium became a field of dreams. It is why we've had 5 national championship appearances and won 33 conference titles. It is why we've heard our fans' approval echo throughout Grandad's Bluff countless times over the years.
We are all on separate journeys now. Thousands of sunrises have come and gone, each holding the same promise as the ones our coaches made to us a long time ago. Pursue the standard of excellence you wish to become in everything you do.
And one day, you will become the yardstick by which all others are measured.
All Eagles share this secret.
The journey is the reward.
History is our witness.
Well, a pretty good first half of action, couple of scores both ways. We told you before the game they're evenly matched, and they're proving it out on the field today. Let's get to the action at Herring Stadium. First quarter, Blugolds' Austin Nye went 7 for 7 on the opening drive. We'll make that 8 for 8 as he finds Mike O'Connell with the touchdown pass. The Blugolds strike first 7-0. Later in the quarter, Eagles punting, but Hallingstad's try is blocked. That's by David Goodman, and Mitch Olson recovers on the UW-Eau 25. The Eagles add a couple of scores after the Blugolds score to make it 14-14 at half. And thanks for watching the Wellshire Capital Halftime Report. Bob and Scott take you the rest of the way after the break.
Down by the referee.
Scott Emmerich and Bob Radovich back at Roger Herring Stadium. Halftime just about to conclude. We're getting ready for the start of the third quarter. Deadlocked at 14 apiece. The Blugolds will start the second half with the football. Justin Hinker teeing it up right now. The wind blowing the ball off the tee. And there's one thing we noticed, Bob, the wind has changed.
Yeah, very much so. When this game started, the wind was blowing on your TV screen left to right. Now it's kind of swirling a little bit more, and it's almost a crosswind blowing from the near sideline to that far sideline.
Hinker with the boot. Thurgood Dennis coming up. He fields at his own 21, and he's got some room and takes a big licking. Jacob Fleckner down there on the kick coverage, making the tackle.
Boy, Thurgood Dennis came up on that kick. It kind of hung up in the wind, and he literally just outran his blockers.
First and 10, the Blugolds will take it over on their own 35-yard line. In case you're just joining us, the Blugolds started out very fast on offense. Austin Nye completed his first 10 passes. The Blugolds jumped out to a 14-0 lead. And on the first play, the handoff goes to Sweeney, hesitating, breaking through the middle, spinning, and Buswell tackling Sweeney. A couple of Toma guys meeting each other at the 40-yard line, but not until a gain of 6 yards.
Blugolds just 31 rushing yards in that first half, 15 of 31. And when Lindsey Hayes talked with Todd Glazier at the end of that first half, he said, we got to run the ball better. And I think that play right there, now that's Joel Sweeney, picking his spots, keeping the feet going, spinning forward, and getting a good gain of 6 on first down.
He had 6 carries for 12 yards in that first half for Eau Claire, so the running game was not much of a factor for the Blugolds in the first half. Here's Sweeney again, this time picking its way and picking up first down yardage down to the 46-yard line. And we heard head coach Todd Glazier talk to Lindsey about reestablishing that running game at halftime there, and they've done so here in the first 2 plays of the second half.
And they're going over that right side. Jake Holstrom in the guard goes 6'3", 290. Nick Brousseau out of Chippewa Falls, number 68, 6'9", 333.
Nye looking downfield. That pass is incomplete. Knocked away that time by Brett Benson into the lineup for the Eagles in that defensive backfield. First half stats for you. We mentioned the Eagles, I beg your pardon, the Blugolds, 15 carries, 31 yards on the ground, 105 yards passing. Eagles getting it done on the ground, 23 carries for 143 yards. Total yardage, the Eagles 229, the Blugolds 136 in that first half. Austin Nye began the game, as I mentioned, 10 for his first 10. Since then, just 3 of 9, and now 3 of 10 after that incompletion.
David Goodman, the wide receiver, is split to the far side of the screen, went out in the second quarter with an injury.
Olson spun away from Matthews in the backfield and then picks up close to 10 yards. They may give him the first down, but a nice run that time by Matt Olson.
Eau Claire's a different team when Matt Olson is healthy, and he's been out of the last couple games after an injury in that game against River Falls, but he gives them just a little change of pace to Joel Sweeney, and much like La Crosse has a stable of running backs, if you can mix and match your guys, both guys will be fresh for the stretch run.
You saw in that replay, Matthews almost had Olson bottled up in that backfield. First and 10, though, they give Olson the first down, and they give him the handoff here. And this time, Jack Leahy meets him in the hole. He gets help from Buswell and a short gain.
Scott, you touched on those passing stats for Austin Nye and how he's cooled off after that fast start. Goodman going out in that second quarter with that injury. He got retaped, came back in. Been watching him here in the second half. He is gutting it out. He is really kind of laboring, number 4 for the Blugolds. You know he's got the good hand, so if he can get himself open, the question is, will he be able to create some separation from the D-backs with that bad wheel?
Goodman is the middle receiver, split to the top part of your screen. The quick hitch inside, incomplete, intended for O'Connell. So that sets up a 3rd and long situation. So far in this game, the Blugolds 3 of 7 on 3rd down situations, but keep in mind they converted their first 3 3rd down situations, so 0 of 4 since. This is a 3rd and long from the La Crosse 44-yard line. They send 4, Nye in trouble, Immel's got him, and he's going to be sacked, but hold everything, there is a flag in the defensive backfield, and sometimes that can result in a defensive holding. I see the Blugold players clapping. Looks like this one's going to go against La Crosse.
Hold defense. Number 23, 10-yard penalty. First down.
And that is on Brett Benson, the sophomore defensive back in the lineup, and that is a costly penalty for the Eagles. It gives the Blugolds 10 yards and a first down.
Yeah, tough one for the Eagles that time, Scott, because they had good coverage. They had the pressure on the quarterback, Nye, and a much different situation when it comes to field position and down and distance after that penalty.
So the penalty keeps the drive alive. 1st and 10 now for the Blugolds on the Eagles 34. Sweeney back in the lineup now for the Blugolds. He's the running back behind Austin Nye in the pistol formation. This is Sweeney. Stacked up and brought down by Benson that time for a short gain.
Well, Benson atoning for that holding penalty. Just good penetration that time, diagnosing the play and going low on Joel Sweeney, because you don't want to take on Sweeney up top. You got to get him low, knock him off his feet.
Sweeney came into this game 4th in the conference in rushing. Last year, a second-team all-conference player after rushing for 1,028 yards as a freshman.
Green 186. Green 186.
This time they face Austin Nye, all kinds of running room now, and he jumps ahead forward, first down yardage. Actually, they're going to mark him just a yard short. They say his knee touched at the 25-yard line.
Blugolds sideline wanting a penalty that time. They're thinking that one of the UW-Eau defenders led with the helmet. We'll see how it looks on the replay here.
Matt Buswell coming up in support from his safety position.
I think that was a good no call. They're looking at it a second time, and I think that's a good no call.
3rd and short now. This is Joel Sweeney territory. He's got the first down. Bowls his way down to the 17-yard line. 1st and 10, Eau Claire.
Doesn't appear to be a whole lot of different things the Blugolds are doing blocking. They're just blocking better, and they're committing to the run. And sometimes just that good talking to you get in the locker room and telling your own mind, hey, we're putting this on you. We're going to come out and we're going to run the ball. And those guys are rising to the occasion so far.
This is Olson trying the middle. Olson and an ankle tackle that time by John Rosick, holding Olson to a gain of 3. Blugolds finding a groove with a rushing attack right now.
No question about it. And again, it doesn't look like they're doing anything a whole lot differently schematically. Just they're committing to that run, and the guys up front are doing a better job sustaining the blocks.
The Blugolds gaining all their yardage on the ground so far on this drive. Rosick almost got the sack, but Austin Gatch gets the reception and a first down. What a play by Austin Nye.
Scott, that's the difference between Austin Nye, the junior quarterback, and Austin Nye, the sophomore. He kept his wits about him, maintained the play, got the pass off, and turned a negative into a big-time positive.
Well, that looked like a sure sack. Look at John Rozek. He's thinking he's adding another sack to his statistical line, but no.
They had the right blitz dial up that time. Nye just got out of the tackle.
First and goal. Olson trying to bounce to the outside. He's in. Touchdown, Blugolds. Matt Olson.
Impressive drive to open the second half by the Blugolds. They chew up a fair amount of clock, and they do most of the damage on the ground.
Except for that last pass, it was all on the ground. Olson's second touchdown of the season. The drive kept alive by the penalty on Crosse on third down when they had them stopped. So now Albright in to add the extra point. It's up and good, so the Blugolds on their opening drive of the second half take the lead, 21-14. We'll be right back. Twelve plays, 65 yards on the Eau Claire touchdown drive to open the third quarter. The Blugolds lead at 21-14.
These guys up here are busting their ass right here. They're fucking busting their ass.
And a lot of people giving good effort on both sides of the ball. Josh Albright to kick off. This one's going to get knocked down by the wind. Jacob Welch fields it. Jacob Welch into the open. Jacob Welch knocked out of bounds at the Eau Claire 14-yard line.
And a good answer by the Eagles. And you mentioned the wind, Scott, and that kick got knocked down. And Welch did such a good job of setting up his blockers. Remember the last kickoff to open the second half where Thurgood Dennis of the Blugolds kind of outran his blockers. Welch set his guys up very well that time. You got the former high school soccer player, Josh Albright, trying to make the tackle, and it gives the Eagles great field position.
Well, Jacob Welch is an interesting story. I'll get to it in a moment after this play. 1st and 10 Eagles from the Eau Claire 39. The toss to Hertramp. Behind his fullback, Knopfsinger. Hertramp down to the 25-yard line. But getting back to Jacob Welch, this guy missed a couple of seasons. He was one of Larry Terry's more high-profile recruits back in 2008. As you get another look at Ben Hertramp's run, Welch suffered an ankle injury, missed a couple of seasons. He was a member of the 2008 West Salem State title football team, but he has come back this season, his first full season, leading the team in receptions and also returning kicks. Hertramp up the middle, this time stacked up nicely by the Eau Claire defense, Andy Newman, among several other Blugolds.
Talk about setting up blockers on that previous play. Hertramp just kind of pushing his blocker, Knopfsinger, to the right guy and say, take him, and then he cut off that block and did a nice job, positive yardage. That last play, though, Blugolds defense kind of closing down that middle.
Well, you know they had a lot of conversations about the handoff up the middle at halftime in that Blugold locker room. That's how the Eagles were able to gash the Blugolds in the first half. Hertramp now 16 carries, 167 yards on the ground. 2nd and long. Quick out, overshoots Bilderback that time. Had him open, Butterfield just a little too much air under it.
Again, the Blugolds play that 3-4, but what they're doing now, Scott, is that they're putting one of their linebackers on the line, so it's almost like a 4-3 setup now. The linebacker on the far side in that previous play was backing off and dropping into coverage.
Turn down the box, Terry. Turn down behind you, Terry. 3rd and long now for the Eagles. You wonder if this is 4-down territory. Here comes a blitz. Butterfield can't dodge it. Down he goes. That is Jimmy Hall with his 3rd sack of the season.
What do we talk about Jimmy Hall in the open? He's a guy that just causes a lot of havoc. Doesn't make every single tackle, but he is so active. And once again, The La Crosse O-line picks up the blitzing linebackers, but that leaves a defensive lineman to run free.
Yeah, they ran a stunt that time. Hall came underneath of the nose guard, and nobody picked him up. As you mentioned, Bob, they went for the blitzing linebacker. Now here's a long field goal attempt by Hinker, a 49-yarder. As I mentioned earlier, he hit a 50-yarder going in this direction last week against Jamestown. And this one is going to come up well short. And so Eau Claire will take over 1st and 10 from their own 32-yard line, and a bullet dodged by the Blugolds after the long return.
Some schematic changes a little bit by the Blugolds defensively, and that time it paid off after they were operating under a short field after that long kick return by Welch.
Well, the Blugolds started out leading this one 14-0. A couple of touchdown passes from Austin Nye to Mike O'Connell. The Eagles, I beg your pardon, answered. Ben Bertramp with a long touchdown run of 57 yards and then a short one of 2 yards. The Blugolds open up this second half with a long drive capped off by a Matt Olson touchdown run. 1st and 10 for the Blugolds. Sweeney up the middle. A short gain. Jack Leahy leading the charge defensively for the Eagles.
Scott, on our screen, we just saw the UW-Eau marching band. It's so nice to have a band at a college football game. And both of these programs, both of these schools, very solid music programs, and they really turn out the good marching bands. I know the Blugold players are just thrilled to have the band at all their home games. I know the UW-Eau players feel the same, and it just adds something to college football on a Saturday afternoon. Nothing like it.
Well, I know people out there again. Well, Bob, doesn't everybody ever have a marching band? No, not everybody does.
Not at the Division III level.
Not in our travels around the WIAC or even outside the conference. So it's a treat. Adds to the atmosphere, that's for sure. 2nd and long. A quick hitch, and that one on the slant, incomplete. Alex Barr on the coverage.
Nick Hirsch was really bracketed that time by the UW-Eau defenders, and the way that ball bounced up, that could have been dangerous for UWEC.
Hirsch took a lick from Lucas Schmitz as well after it went through his hands. 3rd and long now for the Blugolds. David Goodman wearing number 4, the lone receiver to the bottom part of your screen. Nye rolling, he's got a lot of running room. Austin Nye, 1st down yardage and more, all the way into Eagle territory.
We talked about his running ability, Scott, and he's, again, it's not a lot of design runs, but what he does is take off when the play breaks down. La Crosse blitzed from the near sideline. Nye was rolling that way, and as he was in his roll, he just decided to tuck it because it had just opened up in front of him, and some extra yardage there with that spin move.
Another 3rd down conversion for the Eagles. You see, once Nye turned the corner, there was virtually nobody out there until maybe 10, 12 yards down the field.
Almost looked like Mexstroth had an angle on him, and Nye ran right past.
Olson hitting the hole by Buswell, and a gain of 3.
Ball carried by Matt Olson. We are still looking for a 50-50
Olson having a nice game so far in relief of Joel Sweeney. They kind of share the duties back there. Olson 9 carries, 35 yards.
And again, Olson got injured in that game against River Falls. It was a first half injury, did not play in the second half. He did not play against Stout. He did not play last week against Oshkosh, but you can tell he's happy to be back in the lineup today.
They fake the handoff, Nye rolling, and a nice catch by Metzger coming across the middle. Josh Metzger for a 1st down to the 30-yard line.
Metzger is the backup tight end. He's a senior, as is the starter, Ryan Mortel. We got 2 guys who've been in this program a while, stepping up when his number is called, because that play was well defended.
That was nice coverage by the Eagles that time, but a perfect throw by Nye. Threw it where only his receiver could get his hands on it.
6 different receivers have caught passes in this game from Austin Nye.
Nye keeps it, takes a lick, and falls forward for about a yard. Well, you wonder if there's a little bit for Austin Nye here at stake. Last year he came down here and he just struggled. 3 of 16 for only 21 yards. He was working on a bad ankle, though, last year. So this year, looking for a little redemption. Got off to the hot start, 10 for his first 10, and now finding his groove again here in the second half.
Well, we heard from him in the pregame show. He's one of 4 players that stopped by our studios up in Eau Claire to talk to us to preview this game, and every one of those guys just said that the way Eau Claire played here last year was just embarrassing to everybody. They did not play their football game.
Here comes Nye again. He's going to keep it again. Rosick giving chase. Knocked out of bounds. Picked up about 5. It'll set up another third down situation.
And again, this is an Eau Claire team that really thinks it should have been 5-0 coming into this game. You had 2 losses that you had 2 touchdown leads in both of those games slipped away. And you're at a point in the season, Scott, we're still relatively early in this WIAC season, but when you've got Whitewater unbeaten at the top of the conference, every game is important if you're trying to finish in that upper division and if you have any hopes of making the NCAA playoffs.
Both these teams still have to play Whitewater yet. Crosse will actually play them twice. Sweeney up the middle, very close to first down yardage. They may need to measure.
Bring up decision time here for Todd Glazier, and at the moment he has not set the field goal unit out there.
It's going to be 4th down. Sweeney came up about a yard short, so a key play here, 4th and short for the Blugolds. Nicholas Matthews into the lineup up front for the Eagles. Alec Carr at linebacker. Double tight ends, triple tight ends for the Blugolds. 4th and short, Sweeney. First down. What else are you going to do? Give it to the big fella. 250 pounds worth of running back right there, and Sweeney gets the job done.
We saw in the first half, Scott, La Crosse go into a jumbo formation at a goal line situation. That time the Blugolds brought in defensive lineman Zach Ziedema. He wears number 52 as a lead blocker that time for Joel Sweeney. Helped open up a hole on that left side.
Now Sweeney just limped off the field for a moment there, and he's getting checked out on the far sideline. We'll keep an eye on that. Matt Olson into the lineup right now at running back, lining up behind Austin Nye, and first down for the Blugolds. Nye in trouble, gets it off, and it is incomplete, intended for Austin Gesh. Pressure that time by the Eagles.
Once again, it looked like a sure sack, Scott, but somehow Austin Nye is able to keep the play alive just enough. And if you're a Claire, you'll take that incompletion as opposed to a big loss.
And it's John Rosick again, who thought maybe he was going to get another sack. Second and long. This is Olson. Olson to the outside, pushing his way down inside the 15-yard line. Some good brute strength on the part of Matt Olson on that run.
He also got a nice block from the left guard, Abe Ward. But then after that, it was just all Olson dropped his shoulder and kept the feet going.
A pickup of 5. Watch the leg drive by Olson on this replay. He pushed Matt Buswell back about another 3 or 4 yards. All right, key play here. 3rd and 5. We keep bringing it up, but the third downs have been huge. Olson short of the first down. He picked up 3. Now Joel Sweeney walking back onto the field. 4th and 2, but Sweeney will turn around, walk back to the sideline because it appears the Blugolds will be going for a field goal. Josh Albright in to attempt a field goal. This will be a 28-yarder. Albright 5 of 6 on the season. Mark Munger is the holder. It would make it a 2-score game if he can make it. And that is good. Josh Albright, good from 28 yards, and the former Big Rivers Soccer Player of the Year gives the Blugolds a 10-point lead late in the third quarter. You're watching WIAC football. Stay with us. Josh Albright set to kick things off for the Blugolds. Jake Welch, Jared standing back at the 15-yard line. 10-point lead now for Eau Claire. Welch from his own 13. Welch has some room again. Brought down, ankle tackle at the 43-yard line. And saving a long return was Tony Nelson.
This will be the second offensive drive for the Eagles in this third quarter. That first drive began at the Eau Claire 39, but it ended in a missed field goal. Now they'll start on the 42. So a good opportunity for the Eagles to cut into this margin. It's back up to 10. It was 14 after one quarter. The Eagles had a very good second quarter to get back in the game and tie it going into the half.
Two very impressive drives by the Blugolds to start the third quarter. 12 plays, 65 yards that led to a touchdown. 13 plays, 57 yards that ended up in a field goal. The Blugolds dominating time of possession on offense. Pass over the middle. It is caught by Tony Bilderback. There is a flag on the field. We'll see if this one stands.
That flag on the near sideline, Scott, at about the 45-yard line.
And he's talking to the Eagle receivers now. It appears that they lined up wrong. This may be an illegal formation.
An eligible receiver downfield, number 84. He was on the line of scrimmage on an interior lineman. 5-yard penalty, repeat first down.
And another big mistake for the Eagles. Haven't been a lot of penalties, but the penalties that have occurred have really come back to bite UW-Eau.
And they've happened at crucial times. They're the kind of penalties that really change momentum within a drive.
So it's a 1st and 15 situation now for the Eagles. Right up the middle, Ben Hertramp. Hertramp falls forward for about 4 yards. The other thing, too, is that Hertramp ran so well in that first half. Now that they're down 10, Bob, it kind of limits how much they can use him because time's running out.
Well, I think you can still go to him, but I think if you look at this third quarter, Scott, Eau Claire has done a better job running the football, and they've done a much better job of defending the run.
The third quarter is now complete, and it was all Eau Claire. They lead it 24-14. Stay with us. Final quarter of play from Herring Stadium coming your way next. Scott Emmerich and Bob Radovich start of the fourth quarter. UW-La Crosse hosting UW-Eau Claire. Blugolds lead it by 10. 2nd and 12 for the Eagles. Needing to get in comeback mode. Hertramp up the middle. Can't break free from the tackle of Chad Samuelson, but he still picked up 6 yards.
Scott, in that first half, La Crosse had 143 rushing yards compared to just 31 for Eau Claire. However, in the third quarter, Eau Claire rushed the ball for 92 yards, La Crosse just 10. I still think if you're La Crosse, you stick with the ground game just because Hertramp gives you that big playability.
3rd and 4 here, a big one coming up for the Eagles. Hertramp up the middle. He's got the first down. Almost broke free for a big-time gainer. Samuelson dragged him down, but the Eagles get the first down. And it's that simple running play up the middle that has been so successful for the Eagles.
A lot of times in the first half, they were going right of center. Now they're going left of center, and Hertramp does such a good job of just running north-south, hitting that hole hard.
They fake to Hertramp. Open is Welch, brought down immediately by Samuelson, a short gain of about 2. Bob, I got another stat for you. In that third quarter, you talked about the Eau Claire rushing game. That's affected time of possession drastically. Eau Claire had the ball for 12 minutes exactly in that third quarter. La Crosse just 3 minutes. And for the game, Eau Claire has dominated time of possession, 29 minutes, 10 seconds compared to just 15:50 for La Crosse.
It started out looking like we were going to have one of those track meet games, but now we're kind of settling into some good hard football. Both teams going to the ground.
They test the far sideline. They get Nate Ward, who gets down to the 30-yard line. It'll set up a 3rd and 2 situation for the Eagles. Nate Ward with the reception, his 3rd of the game.
Chris Olson on the tackle, and he needed to wrap up because there was really nobody behind him. Ward could have escaped. He could have had a nice gallop down that far sideline.
The Blugolds substitute some players on the defensive line, get some fresh bodies in on 3rd and 2. They fake. Butterfield, lots of running room. He's got the first down and more. Butterfield knocked out of bounds at the 14-yard line, and that's a little bit of something we saw from the Blugolds on their last drive. Butterfield with the long run for the first down.
Good play call that time because they sucked everybody to the near side with the play fake, and it opened up big for Butterfield. He had a lot of running room.
Eagles on the move, just their second possession of the second half, early 4th quarter. The toss to Hertramp. Stacked up nicely that time. Stiddelberg is in there. So is Nate Johnson, a short gain that time for Hertramp, just 2 yards. Keep an eye on number 82 for the Eagles. He's at the top part of your screen. Tony Bilderback, we've mentioned him a couple times. This is the part of the field where they like to go to him on some jump ball situations. Hertramp inside the 5. Into the end zone. What a run by Ben Hertramp.
Scott, the previous play, they did a little toss to Hertramp, but I'm sitting here wondering, why would you go away with from the play that has been so successful? Just a straight handoff. Now watch the effort here at the end. A couple guys had him wrapped up, and he just refused to go down.
He had first contact at about the 6-yard line, but the Blugolds couldn't wrap him up. Tremendous leg drive and strength by Hertramp. Now Hinker trying to add the point after. He drills it home. We have ourselves a ball game again, Bob. 24-21. The Eagles with a long touchdown drive to cut the margin. More WIAC football coming your way right after this timeout. Justin Hinker to kick off here. Deep, Clint Larson off his shoulder pads into the end zone, and it will be a touchback. So the Blugolds will take over on their 20-yard line. Here's another look at Ben Hertramp with a 12-yard run.
Yeah, nothing fancy, Scott, and this is just all Ben Hertramp at the end. A little help from some of his old linemen, but Hertramp just willing his way into the end zone. Scott, Eau Claire, as a defense, gives up an average of 170.6 yards per game. Crosse already with 204. Now you combine that with what Oshkosh did last week against Eau Claire, and it was one of those things that it was kind of a cumulative effect, and what Oshkosh was able to do is really swing things in their favor by sticking to the ground game, and I think La Crosse has found some of that same success running against the Blugolds defense.
Sweeney on first down. Gets a couple before he's stacked up. Hertramp having a career game. 22 carries, 206 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, we thought we might see Lee Lauders, who was the #1 guy in the depth chart coming into the season, but after that injury, they've just decided to keep him shut down, and there's really, you know, when you've got Hertramp performing the way he is, it's going to be really tough to get him out of that starting lineup.
You go with the hot runner at the moment, and he is. Let's see how the Blugolds respond on this drive. Leading by 3. Nye in the rollout. Tracked down, knocked out of bounds at the 30-yard line. A nice run by Austin Nye getting first down yardage. It looked like for a moment Jack Leahy might have the angle on him.
Yeah, Leahy looked like he had him, and Nye was just able to escape. Nye, one of those guys, he never looks all that fast, and yet very few times is he run down.
First and 10 Blugolds, their own 30. That wind really picking up. Once again, if you're watching at home, it's from the near side to the far sideline. Now here's Sweeney, and he'll pick up 4, but a late flag coming in. This one might be coming back.
Yeah, based on where that flag was thrown from, I think this one is going to be a hold on the Blugolds.
Hold. 65 on the offense. 10-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
The center, Paul Santee, with the hold. 10-yard penalty will push him back and make it a 1st and 20.
David Goodman, Eau Claire's leading receiver coming into this game, 2 catches for 20 yards, and he's been limited by an ankle injury he has sustained in the first half, and since going out, he has not caught a single pass.
Here's Nye on the rollout, looking for O'Connell that time. Caught and out of bounds at the 33-yard line. A nice pickup on first down after the penalty.
Mike O'Connell.
Gain of about 13 for O'Connell, who's really stepped up here today.
By Alex
he has definitely improved going into his junior year, as has the quarterback Austin Nye. He's always had the good mobility, but last year his accuracy while throwing on the run wasn't all that good. Much better doing that this year, and says that's just due to a lot of the off-season workouts that these players do on their own, just trying to get better for the season.
8 catches for 72 yards for O'Connell. Here's Olson. No gain, stacked up on the far side. Brett Galligan for the Eagles defensively making the play.
Olson with the carry, tackled
Ryan
by
Immel
Immel.
too. A crucial 3rd down coming up here, Bob.
And this is the situation where you normally would toss the ball to David Goodman, and he would be a prime target. But with his bad wheel, you just wonder how effective he can be.
And now a timeout by Joel Detweiler. He didn't like what he saw with his Eagle defense, so he takes a timeout with about 9 minutes to go here in the 3rd quarter. Blugolds lead by 3. Another crucial 3rd down coming up here. We talked about it all game long. The Blugolds, the top 3rd down conversion team in the conference, facing a big one here, 3rd and 7. Caught short of the first down. Metzger made the nice catch, but Barr and Rosick were there for the tackle. It'll be 4th down Eau Claire from the 38-yard line. Here's another look.
It's a play where Metzger, the tight end, just dragged from the right side of the formation across to the left. They had the wide receivers split to the right side, hoping that that misdirection would clear Metzger, but defended well that time by the Eagles.
Now it's going to be a fake. They're throwing to Goodman. He's got it. Caught on the far side and a 1st down.
How about that? Todd Glazier rolling the dice. Put Austin Nye back there.
Now at the end, before they snapped the ball, Goodman came in from the sideline, and there's a flag now on the far side of the field.
Did that not bounce on the track?
Let's see what they rule. Well, they picked up the flag, so it's going to continue. So it's going to be a 1st down Eau Claire at the 47-yard line. How about that? A fake punt from their own 38. And this coming after a timeout. Sweeney gets the handoff. Sweeney with room for about 5. Let's head it down to the field. Lindsay Hayes, how about David Goodman? What do you have to say?
Yeah, great catch there. Not to mention, not only does he get it done out on the field, Also very studious. He actually is one of 3 semifinalists in the WIAC for the 2011 NFF National Scholar Athlete Award. And he actually has a 3.3 or 7 GPA, 1 touchdown on the year, great catch there. And this scholarship, actually, if he is awarded it, can get $18,000 in scholarship, and also he could be a possible contender for the William V. Campbell Award.
All right, thanks a lot, Lindsay. David Goodman getting it done on the field and in the classroom, and there's Joel Sweeney getting it done for the Blugolds, just short of the first down. It'll be 3rd and short for Eau Claire.
Goodman will go to the sidelines now, as Eau Claire will go to their jumbo package.
3 tight ends. Sweeney up the middle, hit in the hole, and spins his way forward for a first down. That's what power will do for you.
A number of Eau Claire fans who've made the trip to La Crosse, including a good contingent of Joel Sweeney's family, so they're up and clapping for that one. And that was vintage Joel Sweeney right there, just taking out a defender and using his power and moving forward for a very important first down.
And now the clock becoming a factor. Not only has that La Crosse defense been out there a long time because of the time of possession, but now with just over 6 minutes to go, the Blugolds moving into La Crosse territory. Olson brought down by Barr and Buswell after a gain of 3, 2nd down.
Interesting chess match here, Scott, because that time La Crosse dialing up a run blitz that just didn't get to the right spots, and Eau Claire was just happening to go into the right hole that time. So again, you would expect the Blugolds to keep the ball on the ground as long as they can. So expect La Crosse to keep blitzing and try to shut some of these plays down in the backfield.
La Crosse with some fresh bodies up front. Andrew Walsh has checked in on that defensive line along with senior Donovan Winter. 2nd and 7 from the 36-yard line. Olson remains the running back behind Austin Nye. This is Olson. Nowhere to go that time, stacked up. Mextroff coming in from his safety position, and now a late flag. A really late flag. This will be way after the play.
If this goes against the Eagles, Scott, I believe this could be a personal foul, 15-yard variety.
And the Eagles are walking in that direction.
Couple players got locked up.
Personal foul, 72 on the defense.
Brett
Unnecessary
Galligan.
roughness, 15-yard penalty. First down.
Brett Galligan, the senior defensive tackle, whistled for a crucial 15-yard penalty. And as you mentioned earlier, the Eagles haven't been penalized a lot in this game, but the timeliness, man, oh man.
Again, they got 2 players that were locked up, just 2 guys blocking, and after the play, after the whistle, as they disengaged, Galligan just took a little, I don't know if he was trying to brush the player away. It wasn't exactly a punch, but the referee saw it and tossed the flag.
Metzger in motion. Olson the handoff. Met right at the line of scrimmage by Jack Leahy. Calling his number quite a bit. He's had quite a few tackles.
And that penalty does several things, Scott. It not only advances the play 15 yards, it just gives the Blugolds 3 more downs and more of an opportunity to bleed more time off the clock.
Under 5 minutes to go. And if you're La Crosse here, very important to hold Eau Claire just to at least a field goal attempt to keep it a 1-score game. Nye looking downfield, lobs to the end zone, and a flag on the play. A big-time hold on the far side of the field. Alex Barr got locked up with the receiver on the far side of the field, O'Connell. And this one will go against the Eagles.
And another ill-timed penalty for UW-Eau. They had 3 guys back there on Mike O'Connell, who was going to try to run an out route.
Interference, 37 on the defense. Spot foul, first down.
Neil Brunner, our referee today. Here's another look at it. I'm not sure if we'll be able to see the pass interference down the field. But there you can see Barr and O'Connell locked up, and a lot of action happened before they got into the frame. So, first and goal for the Blugolds from the 9-yard line. A touchdown here makes it very difficult for the Eagles. Up the middle, Sweeney inside the 5, down to the 2.
When the Blugold O-line can tie up the D-line of the Eagles and Sweeney can get to that second level, it's just really tough even for a linebacker and doubly tough for a defensive back to take on the 6'2", 247-pound Joel Sweeney.
I'm going right there. I'm going at your spot. Bronson, move back.
3 tight ends in the lineup now for the Blugolds, and number 52, Zach Zadima, checking in at fullback for the Blugolds here as they go big time heavy with Sweeney. The handoff up the middle, plowing his way forward. No signal yet.
Got it?
And they say he's short. 3rd and goal, inside the 1-yard line.
Scott, last week against UW-Oshkosh, the Blugolds were up 16-7, late second quarter, driving for what looked like to be a touchdown. And in a goal line situation, Sweeney lost the football. It was a huge turning point in that game, and you know he's looking for some redemption right here.
Timeout, Joel Detweiler. He saw that clock ticking down, wanted to save himself some time. We'll take a timeout as well. Blugolds leading by 3, but looking for more. We'll be right back. Third and goal here, a touchdown makes it awfully tough for the Blugolds. Nye powers his way in for the touchdown. Well, of course, they haven't signaled it yet, but we can see it from up here. He crossed. Now it's signaled. Touchdown, Eau Claire, and they make it a 2-score ball game with 3:01 to go.
Big time drive by the Blugolds. Dialing up a fake punt on 4th down to keep the drive alive, and then some penalties at the end of the drive going against UW-La Crosse, and Eau Claire able to stick it in the end zone.
Now Josh Albright to add the point after. That's up and good. 31-21. Blugolds lead it with about 3 minutes to go. And you said it, Bob. I think when they look back on this one, they'll look back on that fake punt on 4th down from their own 38-yard line. If that one doesn't go, the Eagles have great field position.
And the key there, Scott, is recognition. Now, I'll admit to being distracted because I was watching a replay of a previous play, and I didn't notice that Eau Claire had snuck Austin Nye in there.
And David
Goodman in the formation. But they executed the play, and it was not an easy catch on that far sideline. So gamble paying off for Todd Glazier and the Blugolds.
I seem to remember a fake punt from a couple years ago that went to Ryan Mortel that had a key moment in the game between these two teams a couple years ago.
And Austin Nye, back when he was a freshman, not the starting quarterback, was involved in that one as well.
2009, yes. Ryan Mortel caught a 45-yard touchdown pass on a fake punt that did what it did accomplish just here. It made it a 2-score game. That was back in 2009.
Now here's what La Crosse has to feel good about, all right? You're down 10, but you got time in the clock. You've been running the ball well, and due to this wind and what your return teams have done, you should come out of this with pretty good field position.
A low skipper, scooped up and down immediately, so the Eagles will take over 1st and 10 from their own 37-yard line.
And it worked out that well that time by the Blugolds, Scott, because they went with the squib kick, and La Crosse did the right thing by just covering up that football. So they'll start on their own 38. Pretty good field position. They got 3 minutes to work with.
First and 10 Eagles. The clock is their enemy right now, along with that blue gold defense. Keep in mind, Eau Claire leads the conference in sacks this season. They've gotten to Butterfield a couple of times today. Straight four-man rush. Butterfield throws, almost intercepted by Tyler Janis.
Was keeping an eye on that matchup. They had They had Builder back to the far side of that formation, matched up against Tyler Janis, who's probably the best cover corner for the Blugolds. And on that time, Janis was able to undercut the route.
Kevin Lind is the running back behind Butterfield. 2nd and 10 from the 38. Five-man rush. Butterfield hit as he throws and almost intercepted again. Pressure put on in the backfield by Jimmy Hall and then almost intercepted by the Blugolds. Sean Graham almost got his hand on that one.
What have we been saying about Jimmy Hall all game long? He's just a guy that causes havoc up front. You mentioned that that sack stat, Scott. It puts a lot of pressure on the UW-Eau offensive line.
3rd and 10 here, still just under 3 minutes to go. Butterfield with time this time. Jacob Welch dropped the ball on the far side of the field. A big break for the Blugolds, and that sets up a 4th down. Here's another look at it.
That time the protection was there. Eau Claire sending one guy in the blitz who was picked up. And Welsh will probably be the first one to tell you that that's a ball that should have been caught. Would have been a 1st down. As it is, 4th and 10 now for the Eagles.
Butterfield just 2 of 6 throwing here in the second half. 4th down. The Eagles need this one to stay alive. Joel Detweiler not happy with that play clock winding down. He ran out and called a timeout.
It's their 3rd and final charge timeout of the half.
So the Eagles, without a way to stop the clock now on their own, down by 2 scores, facing a 4th and 10.
And now out of timeout, Scott.
Oh, the Blugolds have seized control here in the second half thanks to their terrific running game. Held to just 31 yards in that first half, but in the second half, it's been a different story.
No question about it, Scott. And Todd Glazier talked about it at the end of the second quarter, is that you just have to get back to defending the run better, rushing the football better. You mentioned the numbers. They have done just that. And La Crosse in a situation, they've run the ball very well with Herdcramp, but now in this situation, starting this drive, they're just in a situation they just cannot afford to run the ball. Puts a lot of pressure on Butterfield, the young quarterback.
So here it is, big 4th and 10 play for the Eagles, trying to keep this game alive for them. Here comes the pressure, and Butterfield goes down. And guess who? Jimmy Hall.
Causing havoc, as Jimmy Hall's been known to do.
His 2nd sack of the game, 4th of the season, and that should just about do it. Credit Nate Johnson, too, for applying some pressure as well.
Well, at that time, I think Butterfield was looking for Bilderback, who was running a crossing pattern on that left side, but Bilderback just could not get the separation, and the defensive line closed in on Mike Butterfield.
So the Eagles with no timeouts. Jack Leahy meets Matt Olson in the backfield for no gain.
Matt Olson with
some other scores from around the WIAC. Stevens Point leading River Falls 14-7 in the second quarter. Last night, Whitewater beat Stout 42-21. And the Badgers putting a whooping on Indiana just like we'd expect. 59-7 is the score there. Second down coming up on 2 minutes to go in this one. The Blugolds content with running some clock. Olson up the middle for about 2.
I think all the Blugolds want to do here, Scott, is just ball security and bleed time off the clock.
Well, this will be a nice bounce-back win for Eau Claire. After today, they will host Stevens Point next week. Then a tough way to finish at Platteville, which is an improved team this year. Then home to Whitewater. And then they will travel to River Falls to close out the season on November 12th.
Blugolds lost at Platteville last season. And as you mentioned, Mike Emmendorfer's got the Pioneers playing pretty good football this season.
The Eagles found that out a couple of weeks ago. Olson with room. He'll be short of the first down, so that'll set up a 4th down situation. Just over a minute to go. Crosse, on the other hand, they will travel to Stout next week, and then to Oshkosh, a much improved ball club as well.
Brings up 4th down.
And then home to River Falls, November 5th for their final home game of the year, and then closing out the season the way they started at Whitewater. Actually, they hosted Whitewater here in the opener, but nothing like hosting the number 1 ranked team in the nation to open your season and then closing out with the number 1 ranked team in the nation, which we assume they will be there. A tough schedule for Joel Detweiler in his first year. Olson's going to be short of the first down, so with about 30 seconds to go, the clock stops. The Eagles will get one last shot at it, trailing by 10.
And Joel Detweiler has said, you know, let's just see where we're at. Let's line up against the best. We're not going to get any better playing cupcakes. And I think a number of coaches in the WIAC have embraced that philosophy, and Todd Glazier's tried to do that, trying to schedule some non-conference games. And I just think if you're Joel Detweiler and you want to get this program back to the levels that it once was, you've got to accept that challenge. You've got to play good competition.
Well, it doesn't get much better than going up to St. John's and winning 47-19. I mean, that is a tough place to win. Alex Maxinoski with the reception. Had a pass caught earlier in this game, which was career reception number 100 for the senior.
We talked about Eau Claire looking to bounce back. They bounced back after that first loss of the season with an impressive performance at St. John's. It looks like they're going to bounce back after a disappointing loss last week and win a hard-fought game here against La Crosse.
Butterfield just kind of chucks it up deep, and that one falls harmlessly to the turf. Under 10 seconds to go in this one.
Pass incomplete, brings up 2nd down.
Now this will be a tough loss for the Eagles. Remember that first drive of the second half, Bob, the Eagles had Eau Claire stopped, but a holding penalty on 3rd and 10 after the incomplete pass kept that drive alive. The Blugolds then scored a touchdown, and then the Blugolds scoring after the gutsy fake punt call by Todd Glazier. Or scoring the touchdown, I beg your pardon, after the fake punt to put this game away. Hertramp in open field, takes it inside the 40, and the clock will stop temporarily.
Hertramp with a catch.
With 1 second to go, so the Eagles will get a chance perhaps to get one more play off. And that'll do it. Nope. The game is over. The Blugolds end up winning this one here at Herring Stadium, 31-21, the final. We'll be back to recap this one, visit with the coaches as well. Stay with us. Eau Claire 31, La Crosse 21. Lindsay Hayes is standing by with the winning head coach, Todd Glazier.
Thank you, Scott. And Coach, key play of the second half coming on that fake punt on 4th down. A little bit of a risky play. You're on your own 38, but what do you think about that play, being able to execute and keep that drive alive?
Well, it was a great catch by Goody, and Austin got him the ball. It was, a great catch by Goody, and we were lucky to complete it.
For the second half, you had said going into halftime that you really wanted to get your run game going more. Were you happy with what you saw the second half there?
Yeah, I thought the kids played up front pretty well in the second half, and we were able to run the ball a little bit and chew on the clock. So.
And last question, bounce back from last week off the loss. Now looking at your team, really, what did you think of today's game, and where does this set you guys at for the season so far?
Well, it's one game, and every game's a tough game in this league, and obviously this is a close game. Came down to the wire, and they're all going to be like that, and we just have to learn to get better and clean up some of our mistakes.
All right, well, thanks, Coach, and congrats on the win. Their next game will now be hosting Stevens Point. And now we'll send it back up to you guys with more highlights and recap.
Thanks a lot, Lindsay. We're standing by for Illinois and Ohio State coming your way next. Right now, we're going to step aside. We'll be right back. WIAC football. Scott Emmerich and Bob Bradovich back here at Herring Stadium, where we just saw the Blugolds beat the Eagles 31-21. Very entertaining game here. Bob, your thoughts?
Well, Scott, I think the game really turned in the second half when Eau Claire was able to rush the ball better, and they did a better job defending the rush. Eau Claire winding up with 49 carries, 168 yards, but only 31 of those carries coming in the first half. On the flip side, La Crosse 201 rushing yards, but they had 143 at the half. Eau Claire with Austin Nye, I think that's the edge. I just think having that extra year of experience under his belt. I like Butterfield, the quarterback from La Crosse. I think he shows some really good things. He's got a really good upside, but I just think the experience in the WIAC is such a big factor. And how about that fake punt that Todd Glazier, I mean, that takes a lot of guts to call that play, and the Blugolds were able to execute it, and the guy that catches the ball is the guy that had been hobbled by an injury most of the game. One other stat that jumps out, Scott, penalties. Eau Claire 3 for 20, La Crosse 6 for 46, but the penalties came at such crucial times for the Eagles that really impacted what they were hoping to do, both offensively and defensively.
You're looking at some stats, total yards, Eau Claire 320, UW-Eau 333. The one stat that really tells a story, though, time of possession. Sometimes it can be a deceiving stat. Today it wasn't. 39 minutes and 50 seconds in time of possession for Eau Claire to just 20-10 for La Crosse. They almost doubled the time of possession, and we saw that come to fruition in the second half. Bob, great working with you again. Another year in the books.
Yeah, another exciting UW-Eau Claire, UW-La Crosse game. We can look forward to next year's ball game up at Carson Park in Eau Claire.
31-21 is your final. It's Eau Claire over La Crosse in the 79th meeting between these two schools. For Bob Bradovich, I'm Scott Emmerich, and for our entire cast and crew, our producer Mitch Schmotz, all our outstanding photographers and producers back in the studio, for Dustin Lukey and Lindsay Hayes as well. Thanks so much for joining us. College football coming your way next. Illinois and Ohio State. Good afternoon, everyone.
This has been a WXOW 19 WQOW 18 Sports Special.